Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. It's called Culture Bucket. Two friends just made a podcast. Two good friends just made a podcast. Two friends just made a podcast. Culture Bucket, Georgia and Alex.
Hi everyone, welcome to Culture Bucket, episode number 28?
9?
9. Episode number 29. You are with me, your host, George, and also with me is your host, Alex.
Hi! Hi, George. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Alex. That wasn't a big delay on the, we don't need to start counting.
No, I didn't want to
Really?
interrupt you, so I was waiting, but you stopped talking, so...
Sorry, I said your name. I was like Alex, and then I
Yeah.
assumed you'd be like, "Hey, I'm here."
Yeah. I've realized that I don't... My brain doesn't work anymore. How are you, George,
Cool.
today?
I am good. I'm fantastic.
Good. Great.
I'm on holiday.
Yeah, me
which means-
too.
My brain has sort of automatically switched itself off, so we might be struggling today.
Really? Yeah, before
I'm
you
struggling
were
to think.
giving me a deadpan stare.
But we'll be
Yeah.
fine. Today we have to go back to the past to discuss the decade that I was born in, that you were born in,
We were
that
both born then.
that we were both born in, the 1980s. We're going to discuss the best movies from that prestigious decade.
Yes, baby.
Yes, please. Top fives of that will be incoming pretty soon, and that's exciting.
You're right, George.
Yeah, but for now, let's leave the past and go back to the
To the
future.
Ah,
to
great
discuss
80s movie.
A very special edition of Culture Catch-Up.
This is Culture Catch-Up time. This is where we talk about what we've watched, what we've read, what we've listened to, and probably some other stuff. Culture Catch-Up time.
Why is it such a special edition of Culture Catch-Up, Alex?
Well, because Zack Snyder's Justice League.
No,
John Snyder.
no,
Jim Snyder.
no. Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder.
Jack Snyder. Have some respect.
I'm sorry. It's a special episode of Culture Catch-Up because Zack Snyder's Justice League is out of the box, of all the boxes, of the mother box. And we both have watched... we both have watched this 4-hour film, which is a re-release, isn't it, George? Is a re-release of the Joss Sweden one.
Yes, because originally it was made in 2017
Yes.
as a follow-up to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice,
Yes.
which Zack Snyder made, and then he was making his Justice League movie, and due to a horrible family tragedy in his life, he had to step away from the film.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers used that as an opportunity to pivot the movie away from a direction that they weren't keen on, to get Joss Whedon in to reshoot most of the film and re-edit what Zack Snyder had filmed.
Yeah.
To create the original Justice League movie in 2017 that wasn't very popular. Nobody liked it. Fan movement began to release the Snyder Cut, and finally, in the year of 2021, 4 years later, we have got Zack Snyder's supposedly finished vision for his Justice League film.
So because it's such a long film, and and because this is it's been, was done before and re-released again, we thought, and we have a lot. I have a lot of thoughts about this film, and George has got lots of thoughts about this film. So we thought we'd just do a culture catch up on the Justice League.
Yeah.
Zack, Jack, Jim Snyder's Justice League.
Yes.
Yes.
So, before we get fully into it, just
Mhm.
to set up what the general vibe is around this film, it's rated 8.2 out of 10 currently on IMDb, which leaves it as the number 185th highest rated movie of all time on that website. And here are just a handful of reviews from IMDb. Sayan Bizwas says 10 out of 10. This movie will make us connected with Victor Stone and Clark Kent very deeply. I felt goosebumps and even got a bit emotional at a few points. It's a must-watch for all superhero movie lovers. The release of this movie is revolutionary, and hats off to Zack Snyder. Now I'm eagerly waiting for the Snyderverse to be restored. And just one more from Deform Creep. 10 stars. Zack Snyder delivers by far his best film with Justice League. The film has an engaging story with a lot of heart and a great cast of characters who all have good chemistry together, standouts being Ezra Miller's Flash and Ray Fisher's Cyborg. The film also has many Easter eggs and cameos fans of the comics will recognise. Honestly, as a big fan of DC, this is my favourite DC film. So that's just some of the reaction from it. One of the highest rated movies ever on IMDb. I think on Rotten Tomatoes it's got 71%, but the user rating is 95% positive reviews on there. What did you think of it, Alex?
What do I think? Okay, so first of all, the film is 4 hours long, and I watched it in 2 sittings. So I watched this
Lazy,
film in 2
pathetic,
sittings
ridiculous.
because
You aren't even entitled to have an opinion about this film.
I'm sorry, but I could not bear 4 hours of that. I don't know what the viewers saw about this film. I don't know, but I just I have lots of thoughts about this film, and they're not positive. Like one of the reviewers, you said that the characters bonded together well. I felt like they were all acting separately, spitting out some lines, and that was it.
But Cyborg is the heart of the film, Alex.
It is not the heart of the film. It's the coldest person ever.
No, his dad died.
I feel like this film brought the worst in the actors, and I think the only thing that saved this film is Jeremy Irons as Alfred.
Oh, really? Why?
Because it's the only one that seemed believable.
As Alfred?
Well, not as Alfred, just as a person. Like he didn't seem as Alfred. It's just every time Jeremy Irons was in the picture, I was like, yeah, he's back. Woohoo! So what I thought it was, I think my opinion, it was he was trying to put way too much stuff all together in one film. It was shot after shot after shot. There's 5 minutes of Wonder Woman, 5 minutes of the Amazon, 5 minutes of Flash. Let's talk about Flash.
What's wrong with the Flash?
I think.
Let's go through each character. Okay, let's go through
because
that's kind of how the film is.
Yeah,
because they are separate. They don't really come together.
No.
So Ezra Miller plays Barry Allen, who is the Flash.
Yeah,
he is the comic relief in the film.
Yeah,
he's very funny. He has a lot of jokes to say.
Like because it's such a serious film. he comes in with joke after joke after joke, and it feels like they were trying to find a Tom Holland Spider-Man kind of guy, like young, silly, intelligent. That's what I felt. Was the people
Yeah,
that
maybe.
write? It's also I don't know who wrote the script in this film.
I'm not sure who wrote the script. Did Zack Snyder write the script?
I don't know, but
Oh, aren't we embarrassing ourselves?
no, not at all. I spent 4 hours watching that film. I'm not embarrassed
Chris
about none of it.
Terrio did the screenplay, but Zack Snyder helped come up with the story. I think he kind of guided the story, and then he got somebody else to write the hilarious jokes.
And when the Flash gets introduced, it's such a bizarre scene.
When he's having a job interview to be
He's
a
having
dog
a job interview, and he's like giving this really like
walker.
crumpled up CV, and then he's looking at this girl, and this girl is looking at him. This girl is driving, and so when you
Iris
drive,
West, she's very important.
but you don't just not look at the road. And then there's this slow mo. Like Jack Snyder loves slow mo. There's so much slow mo in that film. I was just like,
Snyder.
I don't care what his name is. What's his name?
Zack
Jack.
Snyder. No, Zack with a Z. Good God.
I don't know. Does he like slow mo? There's so much slow mo.
Have you seen 300?
No. Is he Jack? Is that Zack Snyder?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen 300.
He does a lot of slow motion in his films.
And after
Watchmen, you liked Watchmen actually.
Is that the film Watchmen?
Yeah. He did the Watchmen film.
Oh, well, yeah, that wasn't too. Was there that much slow mo?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. What did you think of The Flash?
So I quite liked the Flash TV show on the CW. I watched the first 2 seasons of that, and then it all got a bit much because you had to kind of watch all the spin-offs and stuff, and I kind of gave up with it. But I like the Flash fundamentally as a character. I think Ezra Miller is awful in this film, and pretty bad in the Harry Potter movies that I've seen him in. So I think he's just generally sort of a terrible actor. That sequence in particular, where he's having a job interview and he's late for the interview, which is very funny because he's the Flash, so how could he be late? And then the absurdity of the guy who drops his burger and then is he's driving a big 18-wheeler truck down a main street in a town, and he is driving at what seems like about 70 miles an hour, and he decides to stop looking at the road entirely and spend what seems like about 30 seconds ducked below the windscreen for a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Trying to grab a cheeseburger off the floor that he's dropped on the floor of his grimy truck. You wouldn't even want to eat that once you'd picked it up. Just leave it.
No. You're right.
This leads him to crash into Iris West, who doesn't have any lines in the film, but I guess is going to be important in the Flash movie that they're going to make eventually. And Barry Allen runs out and saves her. And the way they do the Flash in this movie whenever he uses his powers irritates me because things kind of explode around him. It's impossible for him to, and this is a problem throughout the movie really, is that like it's impossible for any of these super beings to use their powers without everything in the vicinity just exploding. Like he touches a window, it explodes. Yeah. He goes and like everything's blowing up around him. There's a bit near the end where he runs fast enough to turn back time, and his limbs are like he's not running like a person. He's like flailing his limbs all over the place, and he's got this duck face pout that he does.
Yeah,
he's awful.
Yeah.
Apparently, like they're making a Flash movie that's going to have going to expand on his ability to turn back time and stuff by using the Speed Force, by allowing him to visit different dimensions of DC films, and through that, Michael Keaton is going to be back playing Bruce Wayne, the Bruce Wayne he played in the Batman movies from the 80s, which is going to be something. I mean, I love Michael Keaton, so I'll watch
Me
that. But
too.
I'm perplexed by how people think that it's viable to make a Flash movie starring this particular version of Flash. His outfit, his costume, and this is true again of most of the characters, but his costume in particular is horrible.
Yeah.
It's covered in what look like weird cables. Everything about it, I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
All right, that's the Flash.
And one thing
Any
before
more?
we carry on, like
Yep.
like you said, there what's the name of the girl that he was staring at in the window?
Iris West.
So there's Iris West. She hasn't said anything. And this is a moment where they're trying to set up for another film. And that's what I thought throughout the film, is as a setup. Well, I don't need to watch a setup. I need to watch a film about something.
But yes, but also this movie suffers from not being set up. One
Yeah.
movie that had Batman and Superman in it, and then nothing for Aquaman, nothing for Wonder Woman, nothing for the Flash.
Yeah.
We still don't have a Flash movie.
Why waste time? Why not just do a good film about I don't know, let's start like Marvel did. Let's start with Iron Man. Okay, let's start with Superman, then do a few Batmans. Build on it. That's what Marvel did. Oh, okay. Well, we stopped talking about Flash and the setting up of everything. Who's the next character you want to talk about?
Let's go to a character I actually like, Aquaman,
Aquaman.
played by Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
What did you make of Aquaman? Have you seen the Aquaman film?
No. And after this, I'm not going to watch another DC film ever again. I'm sorry. I can't. I mean, I'll
fair enough.
I'll watch the Suicide Squad, but I can't like this gave me Batman v Superman PTSD, like really and truly.
Well, the weird thing, I guess, just as a side note before we get into Aquaman, is like that Batman v Superman movie came out and it didn't make much sense story-wise.
Yeah.
And then he did an ultimate. It was like, oh well, it doesn't make sense because he wasn't allowed to do his full vision of the movie. And then, like a year later, the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman came out, and everyone was like, it was like an hour longer or something. And
Yeah.
the plot now made sense in it, and it meant a load of people kind of went, oh well, now it's a good film because the story makes sense. And it's kind of in microcosm what's happened here in terms of like that's Joss Whedon Justice League movie was so cut to hell and bizarre that like the story just didn't make any sense. So now in this movie, the storyline you can sort of follow broadly what is happening in the film, and that's on the basis of that, a lot of people are going, oh, it's a masterpiece now because the story makes sense. It's like you need more than just like that. Should be the most basic thing is that you have a story that makes sense. That isn't the thing that equals a good film, that then once you've got that, the film is good.
And why do you need 4 hours for a story to make sense? You can do a good film in 2 hours.
And the story also doesn't make sense, and I'll get into that in a bit.
Makes no sense.
Aquaman. Aquaman.
I enjoyed having him on screen, yeah, but he had one of the most bizarre scenes ever. There's a scene that looks like the ending of a movie. They used a really like a weird soundtrack, like a very orchestral soundtrack as the end of the movie, and it just he rescues a fisherman. So there's a fisherman drowning. He rescues this fisherman and then brings it in, gets a bottle of alcohol. Then there's this like orchestral music, and it looks like the end of a film. And then he walks on a pier, and then he jumps in the water, and that's the scene.
Yeah.
What was the scene about?
To show that he's a badass, cool guy.
Yeah, but that it was the most ridiculous scene ever. Because it doesn't add anything to the film. We know that Jason Momoa is a cool badass guy. Look at him. Like, we know.
Yeah.
We already seen him talking to Bruce Wayne, and we already know that Aquaman is cool. Why do you need to add that?
Do you like the bit where he talks to Bruce Wayne and then he storms off out of that village, and then that woman, big sniff of his jumper. Just big sniff.
He sniffs his jumper. It's like, oh, I don't want to sniff that jumper.
It's just going to smell like fish.
Yeah. But I don't know, like I feel like the other kid, I feel like they didn't have the chance of being good actors. Like I feel like he was Aquaman. I enjoyed watching him, but I didn't feel the passion. I didn't feel like, I don't know.
See, now I'm not going to insist that you watch it because obviously you won't. But the Aquaman movie is kind of a fun time
Okay.
because he's pretty good. Like, he's pretty good. It's directed by a guy who's directed a bunch of the Fast and Furious films, or at least a couple of them. It's got good action sequences, and the underwater stuff in it is pretty fun. And in this movie, actually, the underwater stuff, there's a sequence where Amber Heard, who's not good in this film, is protecting.
What accent was
Uh,
that?
I can't
Australian?
even begin.
English?
But she's protecting a mother box from
The
Steppenwolf, and
mother
we'll get.
box. By the end
We'll
of
get
the
in-
film last night, I was like, the mother box.
We'll
The
get into the mother
boxes.
boxes and Steppenwolf in more detail in a couple of minutes, but she's protecting the mother box that's in Atlantis from Steppenwolf, and there's a great bit where she's fighting him, and there's a couple of other Atlantean soldiers fighting him. She gets him up against the wall and starts to, like, suck the blood out of his
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good, like, that sequence is kind of fun, and the Aquaman movie has a lot of that energy in it. And I kind of think that Aquaman is one of the things I like more in this film, which is unfortunate because he has, as you've pointing out, nothing to do in this movie. at all.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Why would you not give Aquaman stuff to do?
Because it's not set in the sea.
So why would you
So
have Aquaman? Why would you
Because he's
have
part of the Justice League. He has to be there.
Oh, but the...
My man.
Oh.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right. Let's go from Aquaman to Wonder Woman. What did you make of Wonder Woman? You're shaking your
know.
head on the camera. The audience can't see you.
I have no idea if she's good in Wonder Woman, but like I said, I feel like everybody was as flat as a board, and the same with Wonder Woman. Like there's a scene where Wonder Woman is in a bank.
Can we
And
talk
she
about
has-
this bank scene? Because, oh
there's a
my
bank
God, I
scene,
hated
so
it.
it starts pretty cool, classic bank scene and robbery and this and that, and then first of all they enter and the police arrives in not 2 seconds. The police was there. How? We don't know. They arrive in the bank. The police is there.
Yeah.
He looks outside
Yeah.
the
Although,
windows. Like
I
the
don't know.
police is there.
I felt like I felt like it had already been happening before the scene started for us, if you see what I mean.
No, I don't know. For me, I was just like, why is the police already there? Give it at least a minute before the police arrives. Just a minute. Come on.
Okay.
And then she arrives and she hears things, and then she tries. Well, they don't. What they want, these terrorists, is just to blow up London. They don't want money. They don't want anything. So they have.
They
this
want to turn
box.
back time.
They want to turn back time, but I don't know how you would turn back time with a bomb. But it's fine. They do.
Well, I
these
think the
things.
idea is, I don't know. I think there's a Bond movie there's something to do with this, about like disrupting the stock market,
I guess.
destroying the world's economy. I don't think that these terrorists had really thought it through to
No,
that
they
degree,
hadn't.
but I got the
So-
impression that was the vibe.
Yeah, so Wonder Woman comes, she gets the briefcase with the bomb, and then she leaves, she throws in the air, and she should have gone a little bit further, but I don't know how far she was, but I think she wasn't far enough. And she only had
But
like
she had to
5
go back and
seconds.
save the children from
Then
the
she
man
has
with
to
the
go
machine
back and
gun.
save the children that this guy wants to kill with a gun. And in Zack Snyder's best slow-mo, Wonder Woman stops these bullets with her cufflinks. Are they cufflinks? I don't know.
No, they're absolutely not. They're called braces.
Metal braces, just like pew pew pew.
Braces, not braces. Not her teeth.
Bracelets.
BRACERS.
Bracers.
Braces.
So with her metal braces, she stops these things with pew pew pew, super slow mo. Gal Gadot's face is just, I don't know. She looked surprised. I have no idea. Like she didn't seem to know what was happening herself in the film, and I feel like and it's just that scene. And then why is that scene even there? Why? Like it
Because
doesn't
she's
do
a
with
badass,
anything.
cool lady, and
Yeah,
she.
but we already know that she's a badass lady. We've had 2 films with her already.
No, but not when this was made.
Ah, okay. We have no films with her yet.
This was like the only thing she'd been in pre this was the Batman was you saw in Batman v Superman.
Okay, yeah. So if Zack Snyder had thought about it, maybe he could have said, "Oh, let's cut that bit because they already know how much of a
No, no, no,
badass."
no, no, no. You're totally that's not he. It, the insistence with this is that this is his vision of what the movie would have been had it been made in 2017. He doesn't care about any of the other DC movies. This is him completing his vision. I'm not defending it. I'm just that's the thought process behind the project. So that's why he's not thinking about the fact that we now know Wonder Woman, because to him he's making. Of course, that's nonsense because the movie never in 2017 would have been 4 hours long, and it wouldn't
No,
have been presented on home video in a 4:3 aspect ratio either.
no.
So it's just not. That's not true, but that's the reason why he's not doing that and thinking about the fact that we now are aware of Wonder Woman.
Okay, well, I feel that's a bit of a, you know, that's ridiculous because
Yeah.
that scene was pointless and it was silly, not realistic. Well, it doesn't have to be realistic, but not just silly.
She also, in that scene, when she blocks all the bullets from the gun, and then the guy starts to reload the gun, she's demonstrated that she can move at super speed. So she could just run at him and grab him, and
Yeah,
that's it, right? But
yeah.
instead, she smashes her braces together, which is a classic Wonder Woman move, creating a shockwave that destroys the wall of the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And presumably just obliterates this guy. So instead
Yeah.
of stopping this guy, she murders him. And like,
Yeah.
maybe he deserves to die. He's obviously a terrible person. But she does murder him when she didn't necessarily have to. And also creates an insane amount of damage and could easily have, if any of the police were too close below on the street and got hit by debris, any number of people could have been injured. But
Yeah.
there's a whole, and like the Wonder Woman movies, particularly the first one, she doesn't seem like the sort of character where she would just needlessly blow buildings up. This is a total Zack Snyder thing where he doesn't care about he doesn't care about collateral damage. He doesn't care about these characters
Yeah.
injuring other people while they're using their powers, because they are cool gods and they get to do whatever they want. So I not only does it not need to be in the movie, but it irritates me because I don't understand why she has to destroy the wall of this
Yeah.
bank at the end,
Absolutely.
other than because it looks cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I feel like in the rest of the film, even though that scene is terrible and doesn't need to be in the movie, she doesn't really have anything to do in the rest of the film either.
No. No.
Okay, that's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Let's go to the most controversial character in the movie, Cyborg.
Cyborg. Why is he controversial?
Well, because Ray Fisher, who plays Cyborg, has made all these allegations against Joss Whedon.
Okay.
He obviously didn't get on with Joss Whedon on the set of the film. Joss Whedon presumably doesn't like the character of Cyborg. In the Joss Whedon version of this movie, that character is completely almost cut out, like he has nothing to do. Whereas in this film, he is repeatedly being described by fans of the movie as the heart of the movie. So he has sort of been restored, and this is a big reason as to why people are going crazy over this film. So, what did you make of Cyborg?
I don't know. I hated his costume.
Do you mean
Like
his? Well, it's not a costume, is it? It's just his
that
body.
CGI costume.
Body shaming Cyborg for that's a bit much.
It's ridiculous, though. Like, why would you have the money, you have the means, just make him a costume, like a cyborg costume, something. It was just
He's a cyborg. He doesn't wear a costume.
But I mean, like something decent, not a costume, but like prosthetics, like proper prosthetics, to make
He's all
him
sharp edges.
What?
He's all sharp edges and 90
but
degree
you can
angles,
make
isn't he? He's very-
prosthetics. Like if you have a vision, you can say, okay, he's a cyborg, and we made him this way. You don't have to be limiting. Like you can make prosthetics, making like something interesting, and then using a little bit of CGI to make it look better. But that was just a CGI cyborg that looked like crap. Also, he looked like he wasn't enjoying being in that film. He looked miserable throughout the film. Like there's a scene where he gives money to this woman.
I was going to bring that up.
There's a scene where I don't know why is somewhere, because the problem with this film, in most of the scenes they're somewhere that I'm not really sure how they got there. It's like,
Well, it's
huh?
bizarre because it starts like he's in his own head exploring the cyberverse or whatever.
Yeah.
But then he's stood physically on the corner of a street
Yeah.
where the woman is, and it's bizarre.
It's bizarre. And then suddenly he gives like $150,000 to this woman. And, you know, if you could give all the money you want to a woman, you would give them a few million, not just 150,000. But it's fine.
Because
let's
the idea
leave it.
being that he can control all
Fantastic.
electronics
But
across the world.
why did we need to see that? We know he's a cyborg. We know he can. Why did Zack
he's a
Snyder have
badass,
to
cool
mansplain
person.
everything to us in this film? Basically, it's a mansplaination, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. I don't know if that's necessarily the
Like,
word.
oh, he can
It's
do
just
everything.
overly
Okay, I'm gonna show
and
you. Oh,
too
she's
much
really
exposition.
fast. I'm gonna show you. Oh, Aquaman is super cool. I'm gonna show you. It's like, we know, Zack. We know.
Would you like the bit where he digs a hole in the ground with his own hands and buries a box?
And then Flash goes, I could do it faster, and he didn't want Flash to do it. It's like,
No, this is like, I think he's on his own. There's a bit where he's just on his own before he's really met up with him.
buries. No, that was the time
And he
they
goes
they
to his
got
own
Superman.
grave and just
Yeah.
digs this
Yeah.
grave.
Yeah, Cyborg. I feel sorry for him. They had to go through the actor. I mean, to have to go through like Joss Whedon, but he looked like he wasn't enjoying being in there at all. Like,
Well, yeah, but none of Joss Whedon's footage is in this film, to be clear. So this is him with Zack Snyder, if you see what I mean.
but still doesn't seem like he's enjoying being there.
No, I mean, I didn't rate him. I wasn't a fan of Cyborg in this film at all.
Not at all. Not at all. I wasn't a fan of his. Well, okay, it's not a costume, but his, you know, whatever they wanting him to look like a cyborg. I'm pretty sure in 2021 you can do something better.
When his extra arms come out of his back, it looks ridiculous. And when he gets that weird thing across his face so that he looks a bit like Iron Man, that just seems to exist so that he'll look like Iron Man.
Oh, it's yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's the actor that plays his dad is in Terminator 2.
Oh yeah.
One of my favourite movies. He
Mm.
creates Skynet. So in Terminator 2 he created Skynet, and then in Justice League he created Cyborg.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. Who's next? But yeah, it's definitely not the heart of, in my opinion.
I guess it's Batman.
Batman. Oh my goodness. Last night I needed a couple of glasses of vino before starting the film because I was like, this is another 2 hours of this. And like, why does Ben Affleck look so bad in that costume? He looks like
In the Batman costume or in his cool
in the
waistcoats when
Batman
he's Bruce Wayne.
costume.
Alright.
He's like looks like so stumpy. And at one point he
He's a
jumps
very
down and
stumpy Batman.
just made me like I couldn't stop laughing because I saw it was like, I'm Batman, and he has this voice when it becomes Batman, and
It seems like a very intentional design, right? Because he's got the little stumpy ears on the top of his costume.
Yeah,
like they seem to be trying to
I think they
accentuate
wanted
that.
to make him look big, but in reality they made him look stumpy, and it just for me it was hilarious. I don't know. I Ben Affleck as Batman doesn't convince me. It didn't convince me in Batman v Superman. It doesn't convince me now. I don't see it. I think this time they were modeling more into Tony Stark. I think because he was talking about money and like a bit more like a, you know, I feel like they were trying to kind of get that kind of vibe from the Marvel, and they didn't manage.
Maybe. I don't know if I agree with that too much because that is Bruce Wayne's vibe as well.
Yeah, but I feel Bruce Wayne is a little bit more serious, and this time he wasn't. It was like, oh, I've got money. Like it was being more trying to be funny and.
Michael Keaton's pretty funny in those old Batman movies, though.
Yeah, but don't touch Batman. Like Batman is fine. Like, but just Batman by himself is fine. I love the Batman movies. It's just when they're trying to like put them with other people. Like I love The Dark Knight. I love Michael Keaton in Batman. I don't even mind George Clooney as Batman. That was acceptable. This is not.
I agree with that, but sure.
But I prefer George Clooney as Batman than
No, I prefer Ben Affleck to George
No.
Clooney for certain.
no,
Yeah, definitely.
no.
And Val Kilmer as well.
Val Kilmer. But yeah, I feel like even him. What did he do?
He gets them all together, right? He goes to see Aquaman, and Aquaman says no.
Yeah.
And then he goes to see the Flash, I guess, and the Flash says yes.
And Flash says yes.
And then he
That's
goes to, and then Diana finds Cyborg,
Yeah.
or Cyborg finds Diana. Ooh.
Oh.
And then they all get Superman back.
And they all get Superman back.
Why doesn't he live in Wayne Manor? Why does he live in this weird lakeside bungalow?
I don't know.
And why does his Alfred seem like a... I don't like Jeremy Irons in this movie, I'll be honest. I don't think he's well cast as Alfred.
No, but like if you didn't think his Alfred is the best thing in the movie, like just think about of him that he's like a mad scientist and it's like, oh yeah, Jeremy Irons is back. Like it's terrible as like if you think about Alfred, yeah, it's not great. But if you think about that, he's the only one that seems to know how to act in this film. I'm not saying they're bad actors. I'm just saying that sometimes actors are put in a position where they can't act properly because maybe, I don't know.
Let's go to Superman. I think it's probably,
Superman.
is it about 2.5 hours in before we get to see Superman?
2.5 hours in before we get to see Superman. So I watched 2 hours the first night. And
No
then,
Superman.
And there was still no Superman. And it was just like, Superman. So
And just
Superman...
bear in mind, right, that in the Joss Whedon version, the movie is over after 2 hours. So you watch the equivalent of all of the Joss Whedon Justice League movie before Superman turns up at all in the Zack Snyder one.
So Superman is dead.
Yeah.
He died in the Batman v Superman. He died.
Yes.
So he's dead. But he's the only one that can save the world. So they have to reinstate him in the world.
Resurrect him.
Yeah, they have to resurrect him.
Yeah. Because he is Jesus in this film.
He is Jesus. But also there's Satan.
Christ...
Like, the guy is Satan. It's clearly Satan.
Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
Or Darkseid.
Darkseid. The Darkseid. Oh.
Darkseid.
Sorry.
Superman literally flies up above the earth and does like a Christ-like pose.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But at the beginning, Superman doesn't remember anything. So he gets resurrected. He doesn't remember anything. But then he flies away. He sees Lois Lane. He gets really mad at everybody. And he tries to kill Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Flash, and Batman.
Now, there is one of the two bits in the movie I genuinely liked happen in this bit. And it's where Superman has got somebody. He's got maybe Cyborg or Wonder Woman or maybe all of them pretty much. He's got them grabbed. And the Flash is trying to run over to attack him. And there's a pretty cool bit that I liked where you can see that Superman can move just as fast as the Flash because the Flash is trying to run in slow motion around him, and you see Superman's eye move.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's a good bit. I like that.
Yeah, 2 hours in, that's a good bit. I'm glad. Yeah. So Superman is super evil, and he's trying to kill everyone. But then he sees Lois Lane, and suddenly he's fine, and he flies off. But after, like 3 minutes, or maybe half an hour after, I'm not sure, the concept of time in that film, I don't know. He's with Lois Lane at the farm he grew up in.
Yeah, the Kent farm.
When and why did we get there?
Well, he went there, and then Lois Lane probably followed him there, knowing that's where he'd be going.
But that's the thing. Like, there's so much stuff in this film trying to, fit years and characters that they forget the basic bits of saying, oh, so Lois Lane maybe sees Superman again, they hug, let's go to the farm. No? Also,
the movie's 4 hours long. I don't need it to be any longer.
No, but maybe they could have cut the bits that we didn't need and put a little bit more humanity in the film. I don't know. But the bit where Superman's mom goes and visit Lois Lane, and then when she
but
leaves, then she
yeah.
becomes a man.
She doesn't become a man.
She is the man.
No, she is not a man. She's an alien man.
Okay, she becomes an alien man.
Yes.
Okay, anything else I should know about that alien man?
Well, yeah, he's very important. He's a member of the Justice League. He's a member of the Justice League called the Martian Manhunter.
Okay.
So he's a
it's
really
the one that
important.
we see at the end, the manhunt, Martian Manhunt.
Yeah, he comes back at the end for no reason.
The Martian Manhunt with a
to say
beautiful
he's
Martian Manhunt.
No, stop it. He's the Martian Manhunter.
Sorry, the Martian Manhunter. Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Okay.
I think the idea there is that he watches events from afar and intervenes to try and make things happen the way he thinks they should happen for the better. So he, I guess, has this idea that Lois Lane needs to get back out into the world and get involved in things, and that's eventually going to be useful for when Superman comes back, because I guess he has an idea that'll happen. So that's why he goes to Lois Lane to be like, you need to, start living your life again, you jerk. And then Superman comes back and she's able to like be there to say howdy doody and turn him back into being a good guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So Superman though.
Superman has got a black suit now.
Yes. Why does he wear the black suit?
Is he bad Superman? I don't know why he's got a black suit.
No, because he's a good guy when he's wearing the black suit.
Oh, but did he not? Did he have a black suit in Batman v Superman?
No.
Exactly. So he died in a red and blue suit.
Yeah. But then he goes back to his ship. He hears the voice of his dad, Maximus Decimus Meridius, and then he puts the black suit on.
And why?
And then he goes to fight Steppenwolf. Well, but in the comic, I think, is what I've heard, the black suit is a suit that has regenerative healing properties for Kryptonians. So when he's resurrected in the comics, he wears the black suit because it's helping him to heal and get better. Now, in the 4-hour-long film that has all the time in the world to explain things, they don't bother for a second to explain why he's wearing the black suit. He just has it on because, again, it makes him look like a cool, badass dude. And that's what matters.
That's the thing. It was a 4-hour film with too much and not enough. Like, they could have cut so much out and added other stuff to understand better what's going on. So it's like we know everything. But I want to watch a film that I can understand, even if I haven't read the comics.
Like, this is not the movie for you in that case.
No, not at all. And I think the people that enjoyed it have read the comics. But the person that made the film should just look at the people that haven't read.
Yeah, definitely. But here's the thing, right? I like Henry Cavill as an actor.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. I don't like I'm not a big Superman person generally, but in this movie, so he gets resurrected, he goes off. The rest of Justice League don't know if he's good or bad at that point, so they have to go off on their own to fight Steppenwolf because he's going to use the mother boxes to blah 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 blah. They are getting their bottoms spanked by Steppenwolf, and then Superman turns up and just tears him apart.
Yeah.
And that is the second part of the film that I actually did enjoy, was Superman just turning up. He's got a great line where he just says to Steppenwolf, not impressed, and then just like beats him apart, tears his horn off, and then Aquaman stabs him, impales him, flings him towards this portal, and then Wonder Woman cuts his head off, and then his head flies through the portal. And that, like, the brutality of how horribly they murdered this villain in the movie is the second thing in the film that I was like, that was actually enjoyable to watch. If you see what I mean.
Yeah.
She cuts his head off. It's quite intense. So that's Superman. Let's go to Steppenwolf. What did you think of Steppenwolf, the spiky boy?
Well, first of all, again, like Cyborg, they could have given him some prosthetics, a suit, like this.
No, there's not enough. There's not enough plastic in the world for that many spikes.
No, you can
Only
definitely
a
do it.
computer. No, only a computer can make that many
No,
spikes.
no.
No.
I feel like what the CGI in this film was pretty much the same as Lord of the Rings. And Lord of the Rings was made how many years ago?
I think that's unfair to Lord of the Rings though, because I think Lord of the Rings looks really good. It holds up.
Yeah, it holds up because from when it was made, I think, no?
I
Because-
I don't get taken out of that
No,
film when I
I
watch
think Lord
it.
of the Rings is fantastic. But I don't think they should use
Stop
Lord of the
being
Rings
mean about Lord of the
CGI in
Rings.
2021.
Stop being rude about Lord of the Rings.
No, I love Lord of the Rings. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's one of the best films ever. But the effects, the special effects in this film are terrible.
He looks like a puppy that's been told off.
Yeah, with
He's
the
got this
tiniest face. He's got
weird
this
dog
huge
face.
body and this tiny face.
This tiny
and,
little dog face. It looks all
and
upset.
it's just angry, and he's upset because he's been kicked out of heaven, like Satan. Is this supposed to be like?
Oh yes, but he has to conquer what 50,000 more planets before he can go back to Apocalypse. I think the planet's called or something.
50,000 more planets, and he has to collect some boxes.
The mother boxes, which are
mother
used
boxes.
to, when they're combined, they can destroy a planet and reuse the energy to reform it into all the flying monkeys. Is that right?
I don't know. I guess so.
I think that's
But
it.
yeah, I didn't understand what he wanted. It was just, I just didn't care. I just wanted to
he
end.
failed his master at some point in the past, and the idea
Yeah.
was that he was needing to get these mother boxes so that he could find the anti-life equation and then get back into the good
Mother
graces of
boxes. He had to
his
collect all
boss.
the mother boxes.
Yeah, he did have to collect all the mother boxes.
Yeah.
He looks like there's a bit where he attacks. Well, what's weird is the Amazonians have got this mother box protected. It's in this temple that has these defenses that will make the temple collapse into the ocean. It's surrounded by like 150 Amazonian warriors. It's incredibly protected. And he goes and just smashes them all apart. Throws some horses around, which is a good, again, that's kind of entertaining watching a man just throw a horse. Because that's really ridiculous. He chucks some horses about, and then he has that mother box. And then the Athenians under the water, their mother box is protected by, instead of 150 warriors, about 4.
Yeah.
And then the humans, their mother box is just in a cupboard. Because I guess, and comparing it to Lord of the Rings, it literally does the Lord of the Rings thing where it's like, one of the mother boxes was given to the Amazonians who protected it, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Another was given to the Athenians who protected it, and one was given to the realm of men who are shit and didn't understand it and forgot about it. Which is exactly like Lord of the Rings is very much like, one of the rings was given to the dwarves who did this, and then finally it's like one of the rings was given to the men who all turned into awful monsters because they aren't to be trusted. It's the same idea. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
The way they just use that Lord of the Rings sort of imagery and idea in the film.
His CGI costume and face are just terrible.
Well,
there's no thought.
He looks completely different in the Joss Whedon film.
Does he?
Yeah. In the Joss Whedon movie, like he looks like he's wearing a helmet, and then there's a separation where his head and neck are, and then he looks like he's wearing kind of like a suit of armor. Whereas in this movie, his face is like peeking out from just this these millions of spikes that are covering his entire body.
Yeah.
So he looks very different than the Joss Whedon one. He probably looks better in this one because he kind of looks interesting.
Let me check.
He looks a bit different, whereas in the Joss Whedon one, he just looks like a kind of a guy, a medieval knight guy, if that makes sense.
So what's his name? What's his name?
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf.
Yeah. If you type like Joss Whedon Steppenwolf, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh no, I'd much prefer Joss Whedon's Steppenwolf, not to be on the side of Joss Whedon, but that at least gives it an idea of like being a being rather than just a CGI blob.
I agree. No, I disagree. I
Yeah,
prefer
but
the Zack Snyder one because it looks interesting.
yeah, but it looks interesting if it was in a cartoon, in a CGI film, but this is not.
So that's Steppenwolf. He's the bad guy, you know.
Mm.
But then let's talk about the bad guy that was cut out of the Joss Whedon version, but has been reinstated in all his glory in this film. Darkseid. Thanos is kind of copying Darkseid. Like Thanos is Marvel copying Darkseid.
Is it?
Yeah. Darkseid came first. And his kind of vibe is similar to Thanos'. Not exactly the same, but he wants to kind of kill everything in the same way.
Mm.
What did you think of Darkseid?
I honestly had no thoughts about Darkseid. It was
Yeah, that's
another
fair.
character that was just. It was just another CGI thing that. Was he supposed to be the person that Steppenwolf betrayed?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. He just seemed like a bad guy. He didn't really have any. He was just there waiting every time.
But then there's
Like,
that big flashback where he's on Earth and he gets defeated by Ares and stuff.
I don't know. I think.
There's a flashback early on where Darkseid is on Earth and he's fighting everyone, and it's about how
Yeah.
that's why the Mother Box is on Earth because he left them behind when he got defeated and had to flee. But
Mm.
then there's this. So this is the thing in the movie that doesn't make sense for me is that there's a flashback where he's on Earth, he leaves the Mother Boxes behind, and I'm fairly sure that he finds the anti-life equation
Yeah.
and then leaves, and then Steppenwolf in the present chronology of the film discovers that this is where the anti-life equation is, and then tells
Yeah.
Darkseid and is like, "I finally found the planet where you da 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 da." But I don't understand how Darkseid was physically there and fled, and he has conquered millions of planets, and this is the one planet that defeated him. How did he forget where it was? Like the movie never explains how Darkseid has somehow just forgotten. And whenever I've said that, like I've asked this question to a couple of people like the film, and they're like, well, he's done all these planets. How can he be expected to remember da da da? And I'm like, because he's presumably heard of a database. He presumably has a spreadsheet. Does he not have anyone on his staff that's keeping track of his planets that he's been on and where they are? It's a very simple. I could make that database for you, Darkseid. It's not complicated. He can't have mastered space travel, but be incapable of remembering where he's been or keeping a log of the places he's been to. That's just absurd. It just doesn't make sense. Anyway, that's the
Anywho.
big for me. That's the kind of the craziest thing in the movie is this idea that he didn't know where Earth was despite having been to Earth before, or didn't know that Earth was significant again despite having been there and being defeated there and left his mother boxes there. He somehow forgot that that's. It's not like his car keys. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I understand totally. Like this film is just one one surprise after the next. It's like what? I don't know. It didn't want to explain anything. It just wanted to put lots of stuff there without explaining anything. But having 4 hours of
Yeah.
you could like explain a lot of stuff in 4 hours.
Yeah, you
Or you
could.
could do like what they did with Birds of Prey, where they did like a snippet of 10 minutes of like what's happening. I also would have appreciated more if they said, okay, we're gonna do Wonder Woman, we're gonna do that chapter, then we're gonna do Flash, then we do that, and then we're gonna get them together, rather than just go, oh, let's do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Oh, okay, in the next 5 minutes we're gonna show Lois Lane suffering. Did you the scene where Lois Lane is in a house packing her bag? Like, why you could save those 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So before we move on from the culture
Yeah.
catch up, just to wrap it up a little bit, let's talk about one final thing. When the movie was coming out, there was lots of talk of rumours that Jesse Eisenberg is filming new scenes as Lex Luthor, or Joe Manganiello, who plays Deathstroke in the movie, is filming new scenes. And there were lots of articles being like, this movie's going to be 4 hours long, so obviously it needs to have more villains than just Steppenwolf. So it's going to have other villains that maybe the Justice League encounter in the first half of the movie, and then Steppenwolf comes into the second half. That was kind of what people thought might be happening. No, the story is the same as the Joss Whedon one. It's just stretched out over about 3 hours and 45 minutes. And then in the last 15 minutes of the film, we have an epilogue. And let's talk about the epilogue, because it is a crime.
That was a crime. Like,
We
I thought the
open
film
with-
was finished.
No.
You think the film is finished, and then it goes epilogue. And you go,
Yeah.
no, why?
We have a scene of Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor with
Yeah.
a bald head on a boat talking to Deathstroke and telling him that
I
Batman's
hate
real name
Jesse
is Bruce
Eisenberg
Wayne.
as Lex Luthor. I hate him as a Lex Luthor.
He's
I
not very
don't
good.
like him. Like,
Um,
he's horrific.
He's telling Deathstroke that Batman's name is Bruce Wayne to set up a Batman movie that's never ever going to happen. So just wasting
That's the
everyone's time.
problem. They set up so many films that are never gonna happen.
Oh, except hashtag restore the Snyderverse has now become the biggest ever hashtag on Twitter or something insane. So maybe actually this is all going to happen again, but I really hope not. And then we have the main chunk of this epilogue is devoted to a dream sequence called the Nightmare sequence. Night spelt with a K, like the Dark Knight. If you get my drift. And then it's Batman or Bruce Wayne's nightmare dream vision of a future where Darkseid has arrived, taken over the world, and Batman is on a mission to stop him, and he's teamed up with Amber Heard's Mira, Ray Fisher's Cyborg, Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke, and most significantly of all, Jared Leto's Joker. And we get a scene of Jared Leto's Joker and Ben Affleck's Batman having a conversation. What did you think of this?
Like, I was already annoyed when I saw epilogue, and then I saw Lex Luthor. I was like, oh, and then we're Mad Max. It's like, why is it ending with Mad Max? It's like a desert scene.
Yeah. Because
And,
Deathstroke's come and destroyed the world. Or Darkseid, sorry, not Deathstroke.
Yeah, and it's
stupid.
and then something's and everybody's like really like, and then the Joker, and the Joker just says some, and it's the worst Joker. I haven't seen Suicide Squad, but I've heard
He's worse
from you.
here than he is in Suicide Squad.
It was bad.
Threatening to give Batman a reach around. That's something. Batman swearing at the Joker. That's a new one.
Yeah, he said the F word.
Yeah, he says the
dropped
F
the
word
F
to him.
bomb.
Ooh. And then the Joker, and my brother pointed this out, the Joker gives him a card and says, as long as you have this card, we've got an official truce. Presumably they've arrived at this point on this highway together. They've been traveling together. Why is this the point where he's saying you have a truce? It's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense.
But it's a dream, so it is nonsense.
That's true, to be fair, it is a dream. But I think the idea is it's meant to be a bit of a prophetic dream. Like, it's meant to be a prophecy. It's meant to be him seeing the future a little bit, is my understanding.
Is Ben Affleck going to come back as Batman?
No, obviously not.
Is Jared Leto going to come back as the Joker?
Well, he has done now. This was filmed for this. This was new footage filmed for this.
Ah.
Mm.
Are they going to do any more films?
I think there's a good chance we will get something, but I really don't want it.
Like, they keep trying, but I don't know. I feel like the Batman formula really worked very well.
The Robert Pattinson movie is coming.
Okay. So Batman has
Batman.
always worked. Like, whatever Batman you like or don't like, they've always been like popular, and they worked, and they've been fun to watch. Superman hasn't really been fun since the 1970s.
I mean, I don't like those Christopher Reeve
No, me
movies,
neither.
so.
But I didn't, but I used to like Smallville. I watched Smallville when I was
I
when I was
watched
younger.
Smallville a bit.
I thought Smallville was good. It was good as a series.
Yeah,
Just
I'd
leave it
agree.
alone. Just stop trying to do this. Wonder Woman apparently is good. I don't know if it's good or not. I think I would like to watch the first Wonder Woman because I was so disappointed in Gal Gadot in this film. But I think because she didn't have anything interesting to say or do, so I kind of wanna watch something
I
where.
think you should check out that the second Wonder Woman movie is a bit of a mess. But the first one, I really like it. I would rate it. If you are ever compelled to watch anything else of these, I'd say the first Wonder Woman movie and the Aquaman movie are both watchable. The first Wonder Woman movie is I really really like it, and then the Aquaman movie is good.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would. How would you rate this film?
I can't remember what I gave it on Letterboxd. I can check.
Like
I think
I just think is a mishmash of things, and really I feel that he just tried to put so much stuff in one film and it didn't work. And now because this is a little bit better than the Joss Whedon one, and because Joss Whedon is a terrible person, now people have highly rated this one, but
2
it's not.
stars. I gave it 2 stars. So that's Zack Snyder's Justice League. That was a special culture catch up. Hopefully you're still with us.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Sit down at the back and be quiet and get out your book because it's time to discuss your homework. Now.
Yeah. So last week was top 5 final shots.
Yeah.
Your homework was to watch Karin Kusama's The Invitation.
Yes.
My homework was to watch Hirokazu Koreeda's The Third Murder.
Hi.
And am I starting this week?
Uh,
I think I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So The Third Murder is the third Hirokazu Koreeda film I've watched. Coincidentally, because I've previously seen Our Little Sister and Shoplifters.
Yeah.
Both of which I loved and thought were amazing. So I was excited to watch this film, and I think up front I'll probably say of the 3 Koreeda films I've seen, I liked it the least of those. How would you rate it amongst those 3 movies?
It's him completely out of his comfort zone.
Yes.
So it's not the best, but I thought it was the most interesting. Like, no, it's no more, no, not interesting. I think it's still interesting. It's not his best, I don't think.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed what he was trying to do because I think as a director, he's trying to get out of his comfort zone as a director, and so that's why.
Which is good.
Yeah, and he did a movie in France, and he did this, and I enjoyed the fact that they were like twists, some sort of twists, and he used different camera techniques, and that's why I liked it as kind of like being different. But I don't think it's I don't think it's my favorite, but I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah. So it's definitely basically the plot of the movie is the main character is a lawyer whose father is a retired judge. There is a man who committed a double murder about 30 years earlier and was given a lenient sentence by this guy's dad when he was a judge. He didn't receive the death sentence, which he could have done in Japan. He was instead sent to prison for however many years. Now, he's back out of prison and he commits a third murder. And the son of the judge, who's a lawyer, is brought in to defend this man, who immediately admits to having done the murder and is quite frustrating throughout the film in terms of just changing his story constantly. And it's a bit and it's described on Wikipedia, I think it is, as a legal thriller. And I think that's immediately puts you on the wrong foot, because I don't think it's a thriller at all. I think it's a procedural legal drama.
Mm.
And it's an incredibly well-researched legal drama. Koreeda, who didn't have much knowledge of the legal system, I think brought in a few lawyers and had them do mock trials while he took notes for weeks to prepare him for making the film, so that he could write the script as accurately as possible. And it's a very well-written script. It's an incredibly well-shot and made film. I mean, whatever he is as a storyteller, or as a wherever his abilities lie in order to make a thriller movie might be, he is at the end of the day an auteur master filmmaker and is able to construct a movie very well. So it's a very well made film. It feels competent, which is much kinder than something you could say about Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is probably the only time these two films would ever be compared. But for me, it was very like, I think because I went into it kind of wanting a thriller and expecting a twisty turny, like maybe something in the vein of what's that incredible Edward Norton film that's not as well made as this film? The one with is it Richard Gere as well?
Richard Gere, yes.
Richard Gere and Edward Norton. I think I've talked about it on this podcast before. I can't remember what it's called.
The
Third
No.
Murder.
It's about it's the one where he's like he kills the priest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What's it called? It's such a good film.
Third.
Edward Norton, Richard Gere. Primal Fear. It's called Primal Fear.
There's no the.
So I was expecting something maybe along the lines of a Primal Fear, where you've got a lawyer investigating a murder. What's wrong?
Yeah. No, just from Koreeda. That's a little bit too much to ask.
Well, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what and instead and that was what I was in the mood for. And what I got was something is incredibly dry. And what I love about his other films, Shoplifters and Our Little Sister, is there's so much heart and emotion and humor in the characters. And I feel like there's not really any of that in this movie. Do you think that's fair? Is that true?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. It's because it's a different world. Yeah, it's a
definitely. And like
setting,
like you say, he should be trying different things. But for me, it's trying something different, but it doesn't quite hit the mark for that story. But it's still a good film. Like, I wouldn't give it a bad review or a bad rating. He's made it well. It tells a good story. The actors are very good in it. The guy who plays the criminal is great. The young girl who plays the daughter of the man who's murdered, she's very good in it. It seems determined to never give anyone any easy answers. It seems very determined to end on quite an ambiguous note, as you've mentioned. And it has that final shot where he's stood and he's surrounded by these power lines and the camera's kind of up above him and is looking down on him. And that's the final shot of the film. And it's a good final shot. It probably, if I'd seen the movie without the context, it probably wouldn't have stuck in my mind, but it's obviously stuck in your mind quite strongly. So that shows, that it's good, it's well made. But yeah, overall, I was sort of lukewarm on it. I liked it. It was good. It's well made, but I definitely want to see more of the sort of heartwarming side of Koreeda.
Yeah.
Or if he wants to try and make more films like this, that would be great. But he definitely has some way to go in order to make like a really tight, like David Fincher can make an incredibly tight thriller, like a Seven or a Gone Girl, or one that's more in the vein of this, where it doesn't have much action, like Zodiac is an incredible David Fincher movie. The Social Network, like David Fincher's very good at making quite dry films that don't have a lot of heart to them, still very watchable and compelling. And I think Koreeda, when you take that heart away from him, he doesn't quite know what else to put in the gap where the heart would go. You see what I mean? But yeah,
I don't feel the same, but yeah,
yeah.
Because I feel there's a lot of love in that film of like why he does what he does, why he did what he did.
Why? Who did what he did?
The murderer.
Oh right, yeah. I guess
And yeah,
was because was the girl telling the truth about her dad.
we don't know.
So why did it? But you said there's a lot of love in why he did what he did. Is that why he did it?
Yeah.
So we do know.
Well, I don't know. I guess so.
It-
Like that was my interpretation of the film.
Okay.
Like I feel like he does the things that he does. Mainly, there is a reason behind it. It's not just because he's a cold-hearted murderer. It's because things have been done to the person, or well, the person that he's killed has done something bad, or so.
Yeah.
So in a way, he does it out of love, but also we don't know if he's done these murders. Like he might be taking the blame
Yeah.
just to
because
save
maybe
somebody that has been suffering.
So do you think
So,
the girl murdered her father?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Like I feel like
Interesting.
he takes the blame because of things to save other people because he thinks he's worthless. He doesn't need to be saved, but other
Right.
people do.
Yeah.
That's how I interpreted it, because it's you have to like that film. I think depending on who watches it, you understand different things. But yeah,
Yeah, that's fair. Definitely.
Yeah.
But no, it was good. It's a well-made movie. It looks good. It's well scripted. It just
Yeah.
didn't quite have the pace for me, if you see what I mean.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, what about The Invitation?
Cool. So you told me to watch The Invitation, directed by Karin Kusama, which I found out that she was the director of Jennifer's Body as well.
Yes, yeah. Along with
that's
a few other movies.
Yeah. But yeah, so the film is about well, I don't know if I should tell the plot because you kind of learn the plot as the film goes along, but Will and Eden were a couple, and after
I
2
think
years,
because we talked about it last week and we sort of talked around it, I think we should go a bit more spoilery this week and
okay.
So skip a
yeah,
few
shall I?
minutes ahead skip a few minutes
Yeah.
ahead if you don't want to spoil on The Invitation. And like Alex said,
Yeah.
it's very much worth finding out the beats of the plot for yourself as you watch the movie. So if you didn't watch it between last week and this week, maybe pause it here or skip ahead and come back later.
Yeah, because I feel like you learn. So you whilst you watch the film, you start learning things because you just the film starts with these two people going to a house and there's an invitation and they haven't seen each other and they haven't seen the people inviting them for 2 years, and then that's all you know at the beginning. And then
Yeah.
the more the film goes on, the more you find out that the people that invited them, one of them is the ex-wife of Will, the guy driving up. So,
Yeah.
and then the more the story unfolds, the more you find out that Will and Eden were married. They had a
Yep.
child. The
Yep.
child died. And
Yep.
then Eden went to Mexico to get better because she was, on the verge of suicide. Well, she tried to commit suicide. And then she divorced Will. And then 2 years later, they find it all. She invites, after nobody sees her for 2 years, she invites everybody to the house where the kid died and where Will used to live for a dinner party. And
Yeah.
and then the more the evening goes on, we find out that Eden, with her very lots of breathing in and out boyfriend that speaks like this. It's like, oh, shut up. It was like, Will, welcome to my house. With her boyfriend, are part of a cult. And in the house, there's also a weird girl that nobody knows. And also there is a weird guy. No, a weird guy arrives after that nobody knows.
John Carroll Lynch.
Yes, John Carroll Lynch. And Will gets more and more suspicious. And then in the end, we find out why he's so suspicious, because the cult is trying to do something bad. And then at the end, we find out how bad the cult wanted things to be.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's a good explanation without being too spoilery.
Yeah.
So okay, like I think Karin Kusama is very good at shots. She does some very interesting shots of like the eye and the thing and the back of the head and the I think that's kind of like to kind of make the film look a little bit eerie and tense. And it's an interesting I think is an interesting concept what they were trying to do, and like the message at the end, I feel that's what I interpreted. It was kind of like you can live in the Hollywood Hills, but bad stuff might happen anyway, and all these riches don't make you happy. I don't know, because they lived in a very nice area, didn't they? And
Yeah, they definitely were affluent
yeah, and they
people.
were part of a cult, so all of them were suffering. So this cult was all about relieving suffering and not suffer anymore for loss. And in a way, the last shot kind of shows you that everybody in the Hollywood Hills, regarding having all that money, they're still suffering. They still need to find an outlet. That was my that's how I
That's a good. I
interpreted the
like that
last shot.
interpretation. I can take
Just
that.
because it was kind of like, yeah, because they're all
But did
rich.
they know necessarily the full extent of what the cult wanted to do?
Well, I guess so. I don't know. I guess so. I don't know. But it's. I think that's a good concept, but I personally felt like the film was a bit flat. I needed a little bit more um tension, I guess, in the film.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, I found it, when they, the first scene starts quite like fun and they kill a coyote and he has to like hammer this coyote down. And
Yeah.
then I was so distracted by at the beginning when they walk in and they all the whispery and the thing. And I was like, what? It was just a bit um I don't know, maybe I was looking a little bit too literal or literally, but it just feels like the setting was all wrong for me, because why would you go, so your wife divorced you because you haven't got a kid, because your kid has died. But
Yeah.
then you would go back to that house in a fun dinner party and all your friends would do that. I don't know in which like I think if somebody else would have died, maybe it would have been more believable for me to have like a reunion of friends, but is a reunion of friends with like she deceived him and divorced him when she went to Mexico and she found somebody else. As a
Yeah.
person, why would you go there and relive? Like you could say, well, we can meet another time. I feel like maybe the setting was wrong for me. I think if somebody else had died that wasn't a child, maybe the parent or the brother or a friend in their backyard, that would have made a bit more sense
But
than
I think
reuniting
he
all.
didn't. He didn't really like. He wasn't he going there out of a sort of sense of obligation to see how she was doing, and didn't
E-
really want to.
yeah, but then there's so many red flags that I would have left in they like I wrote something on my phone while I was watching it, because I was just like um uh,
Isn't there a point where he tries to leave but he can't?
oh, but at the end, towards the end, he tries to leave towards the end. And then like everyone, I don't know, after so and then they show the video, yeah? So they show this video and it's supposed to shock you, the video where the person dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt like maybe they weren't shocked enough. Like I feel like maybe the video could have been more shocking than what it was. So I felt like it was trying to create tension without creating enough tension for me. You know what I mean?
Sort of. You say this about a lot of the films I recommend to you.
No, no, but I feel no, but But that's the thing. Like, in fact, now I want to watch Hereditary, because I feel like there are some films that build on tension, but I feel like the ones that this one, for example, for me, didn't build on the tension, because the best moment was when the girlfriend, Will's girlfriend, kills the guy, and I was like, yeah, that's good, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just like, I think it should have been a dinner party. Like, the tension should have built there, because I feel like he walks around and he goes around and everybody's doing some weird stuff, and like Eden sends him out to get some wood from the backyard, and then at
Yeah.
the same time she goes to the bedroom to put some
Yeah.
pills in her, but she knows he's there because she sent him there. So does she want to be seen?
Well, maybe she
And
does.
maybe she does. Okay, maybe she wants to be seen. And then he's in his Will is in his in his son's bedroom.
Yeah.
It just opened a Mac without a password. I was like, okay, fine, never mind. And then he sees, and then the boyfriend knows that he's in there, but he still's going, lights the candle. Does he want to be seen? I don't know. Like, it feels like he's always in the right place at the right time, kind of
Yeah, maybe
thing.
some of it can be a bit convenient, but
Yeah, I felt like, instead of like creating tension without even actually seeing certain things, maybe, but it was just some convenient bits, and I don't know. And then, like, at the end, a dinner party, and they're having this dinner party, and I wish it escalated more, and I wish there wasn't a gun at the end. Like, I feel like if you're gonna kill people in this kind of way, I feel like a knife would have been more effective, like a chasing with a knife, instead of goes boom boom, killed, and then there's no more chasing. And you go, why? There's no more chasing. And so I thought it was a good concept, and I think it's an interesting idea, and it talks about, how people deal with grief and how people deal with um differently. And but I feel like, because the setup had to be a little bit more tense. Yeah. The final shot, it's a good final shot. Like, it makes sense, and for me, it was like, oh, you could read it in so many different ways. But I felt that maybe I could have done with a little bit more building of tension. Like, when the friend leaves, when she had enough, she leaves,
yeah.
and then he lets her go. But then, in a way, it would have been better if he turned around, went, and then he would have seen the other guy go without him seeing. Like, I feel like yeah, I don't know. I, 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 I feel like it could have been better, in my opinion. Like, if I
It
want to
definitely
watch
could be better, but I still think it's good. Like, I still like
yeah,
it.
yeah, I thought it was pretty flat. But for what you and so slow. But for what the end bit, I understand why the final shot is good, because it wasn't expected, the final
Yeah,
twist.
and I think it's quite good at, for a movie that's got a very low budget, it does a very good job at creating a bigger world in just one
Yeah.
shot, if you see what I mean.
Mm.
Like, you
Yeah.
can do that entire final shot was probably done in a computer. But yeah, and it's just clever use of sound editing and stuff, but yeah, makes suddenly, like, you realise that what's happened there in that house has happened across the entire, I don't know, all
Yeah.
of that town, all of that country, everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's suddenly the
Yeah.
scope of the movie becomes much bigger with just one clever use of lighting and sound, which I liked.
But yeah, I just want to see something that just, if I'm going to see something that has to make me build some tension, I want to watch something that builds some tension. I don't want to just watch.
I don't know why you always talk about building tension when I recommend films. I don't understand it.
Because if not, it's just a film about an annoying dinner party.
But
Because
that's partly what it's about, isn't it? That's what the film is.
But okay, we're talking about building tension because we're talking about, we're talking about like certain films. If you told me to watch a Koreeda film, I wouldn't be talking about building tension. But I mean, this film is supposed to build some tension, because at the end you're supposed to be like, oh my god, get out of the house,
Right,
do
but
this,
I think
do
it.
that. But
I
by
think,
the end I
I
was
think
like,
it
I don't
does build
care.
tension.
Hmm?
I think it does build tension, but I don't think that's the only thing it's trying to do.
Yeah, but if that's what I said. Like, he's got some good shots and this, but I feel like it was just flat. I felt this was very flat, and even if it didn't build tension, it didn't build anything. Any. I didn't have any. Um. I. What's the word? I didn't feel anything for the characters because none of them were particularly nice. So something has to give me, a film has to give me something. If not, it's just I'm just watching some images. And so because I didn't really care about in this kind of film, I don't think you need to care about the characters, because most of the characters were pretty not nice. Like, all the
Yeah.
characters weren't very likable. So you assume that, well, you want to have some tension, no? You want to have like some feelings in a film, no? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I like how slow it builds and what a slow burn. I like a slow burn film like that. That isn't necessarily, that builds some tension, but is, I don't know quite how to describe it. I just like how slow it is. I like slow movies that don't
Well, me too. Don't get
aren't
me wrong.
constantly full of like
Don't get me wrong. I don't like, oh, I need to this and that. But also, if you're gonna have that, you need to like also keep the viewer slightly entertained, and also have some, like, some kind of good acting. The acting was pretty bad as well.
Oh,
I'm
I like John Carroll Lynch a lot. I like the main guy. I can't remember his name. He looks a bit like Tom Hardy. I think he's good in it.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't talk about all the films with tension. Like, I didn't watch other like just two of them that are supposed to be that. That's what they're supposed to give you. Because if not, they wouldn't be. What is this? This is um a drama mystery thriller, so a slight tension you need to have. Because if not, I don't know. You're just watching a. And then the other one was The Lighthouse, but the rest, if I'm watching a comedy, I'm expecting to laugh. If I don't laugh, then it's not a good comedy, is it?
Yeah.
If I'm watching a thriller, I'm supposed to be a little bit tense. If I'm not tense, I'm watching. It's not good thriller. Like, that's how I look at it. If that's what you give me, then if at the end everybody's gonna die and that's the aim of the film, that means that some sort of like feeling of dread or tension or fear should be built on me. Like, I've seen films where, we talked about the Blair Witch Project. That's like a building up of tension, and that's the formula, isn't it? Because if not, why watching that movie? I don't know.
True, but I would watch the Blair Witch Project again. Like, to me, there's more in it than just tension.
Yeah, but I'm not just asking for tension. I'm just saying that if you can't offer me anything else, you can't offer me some good acting, you can't offer me some, then just offer me something else.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, for me, the invitation offers like an interesting plot that unravels in like a slow but interesting way. It's quite twisty, and then builds towards a climax that I really enjoy. So,
well, The Invitation is definitely better than Zack Snyder's Justice League. So
thanks. But it's directed by a woman, so it's not going to have a good rating on IMDb. Oh,
is that
shots
why?
fired.
I think she's a good director. I think she's good.
I no, that's probably an unfair comment, but IMDb seems to favour movies that are going to be approved of by teenage boys. Is my probably slightly unfair criticism of IMDb.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Our top 5.
Top 5 80s movies. I'm going to start. My number 5 is nice and simply Tim Burton's comedy horror masterpiece, Beetlejuice.
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 Cool.
Have you seen Beetlejuice?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen Beetlejuice?
No.
Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis play a couple who die in the opening of the film, and they are left as ghosts haunting their house. And a new family of 80s style yuppies move into the house, played by Jeffrey Jones, Catherine O'Hara, and Winona Ryder as their daughter. And Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis decide that they don't like the new people in the house. They want to have the house themselves as ghosts. So they end up hiring the services of what does he call himself? Like an exorcist, but for living people. What does he call himself? A bio-exorcist, is that it? Bio-exorcist. Yeah. So he's a bio-exorcist. Beetlejuice, played by the perfect Michael Keaton, who they hire to try and get the people out of the house, and it's just a very good time. What do you know about Beetlejuice, Alec?
I know about. I know he's got a black and white costume,
Sure. Yeah,
like
he
a stripy
does.
costume.
Yeah. Well,
And
I mean, the
that's-
interesting thing about the movie is that Beetlejuice himself isn't in it much. He's only in it in like a handful of really great key scenes. But most of the film is Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis and Winona Ryder really doing their thing. But then when it's kind of doing that thing of using him sparingly because they know how good he is. Do you know what I mean? So like rather than like he'd probably grow, he's such a big manic character that he'd grow old on you if he was in the movie all the way through. So they just pull him in when they need to. But it's that early era Tim Burton movie where it genuinely does, like, his art style is still really interesting at that point. When they go into kind of the afterlife and they have to meet with their counselor or whoever she is, they're in this waiting room with all these other dead people who all kind of look how they have the appearance of how they died, basically. So there's somebody who was run over who's just really flat and is like being moved around on like a clothesline, and all sorts of things. It's pretty good. It's pretty dark, but really, really funny. And there's not many movies that kind of have that dark, surreal comedy and do it well, and Beetlejuice definitely hits it well. I like it a little bit more every time I see it. So yeah, I love it. I love Beetlejuice.
Awesome.
How come you never watched it?
I have no idea. Like really, I don't know. Never really inspired me to watch it. I don't know.
Interesting. Because you don't mind Tim Burton, do you? What do you think of Tim Burton?
Oh, what Tim Burton films have I watched? I've watched
Edward Scissorhands.
I've watched Edward Scissorhands.
I mean, this is one of those. This is a Tim Burton movie without Johnny Depp in it, which is a rare treat. Ed Wood. There's the Batman films he did.
Yeah.
And this is Michael Keaton and Tim Burton together, like in those Batman movies. I mean, it's just a good combination.
I've no idea. I have no idea. Like, I've seen a lot of Tim Burton films, and I don't know why I've never watched Beetlejuice. It never kind of inspired me. I don't know. Maybe because what's his name? The guy that plays Beetlejuice.
Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton.
Yeah, Michael Keaton. I don't know. I've always associated. I know they're not the same, but I've always associated Beetlejuice and the Rocky Horror Picture Show together.
Oh right, okay. Well then,
I don't know why. I guess because of the
same.
crazy or the kind of like manic protagonist, and so
Yeah.
I've never. And then I don't really like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, so I never given any time to Beetlejuice.
Yeah, fair enough. But again, I think what makes Beetlejuice work for me is that, like, how sparingly it uses Beetlejuice. Like when you watch Beetlejuice for the first time, it's important. Like, because I think the first time I watched it, I didn't like it very much because I was a bit like, "Where's Beetlejuice? Why is Beetlejuice not here? When is Beetlejuice getting here? Please, the Beetlejuice." But then watching it when you know that you're not going to get lots and lots of Beetlejuice, you are able to focus on the other characters and the other scenes and see how inventive and funny like Gina Davis is one of the all-time great actresses. She's so good in this movie. Alec Baldwin is very good in it. Catherine O'Hara is one of the funniest people ever to be on screen, and she's just hilarious in this film as this kind of like, she comes into this house, she moves into this house, and it has like this, is determined to change like they've got it as like an old farmhouse kind of thing, and it just seems like a nice old house, and she's determined to make it like this 80s nightmare with all this awful artwork and stuff in it, and the ghosts hate it, and she's got this guy that's going around helping to do all this interior design, and it all just looks terrible. It's great. Jeffrey Jones is a bad person and isn't in movies anymore, but he's good in Beetlejuice. No, it's just it's good film.
Good.
Yeah.
Very nice choice.
Thank
I
you.
like
What's your... Yeah, and it's got there's a musical sequence in it that's brilliant, and What's your number 5?
My number 5. So my number 5 is a 1984. I noticed that most of my films are American. So American coming of age, of course, comedy, directed and his director debut and written by John Hughes. And the film is 16 Candles.
Interesting.
Yes. So 16 Candles started my love for coming of age romantic comedies. Well, they're not really romantic. Coming of age comedies. Let's not call them romantic. So this was like the one that started me on my love for this genre, and it stars Molly Ringwald, who is in lots of John Hughes films, and then other people that I'm not, and Joan Cusack is in it as well. Joan Cusack.
Lovely Joan Cusack.
Yeah, Joan Cusack is pretty fun in the film, and I think she plays the best friend.
Is this the movie that has a racist Asian character as well?
Yes, so I was gonna say that. Just a moment. So the the downfall of this film being made in 1984, he's got a really bad portrayal of an Asian exchange student. Every time he appears, they put a dong sound, like the dong.
Yeah.
His name is pretty ridiculous. His name is I had it here.
Is it Duck something or like fried duck?
His name is Long Duck Dong, which is clearly bad. So if taking that away from the film,
to be fair to you and everything else, I looked up a list of like iconic 80s films when I was researching this, and every single one on this website they had like a little content warning for a different thing that's now not a like the 80s was very much a time of, even more so it feels than the 70s or like eras before it. The 80s just seemed like this era when films, even amazing films, would have stuff in it that by today's standards is just not okay. But you can't entirely, like, the films are still incredible. They just have things in them that you have to say that's not okay anymore.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, okay, this guy is not what the film is made. It's really bad. And then but I think like it's clearly I think also so the actor is Gary Watanabe, which is clearly like from Japanese origins, but he's playing like, he has kind of a Chinese name, but then at one point he jumps off a tree and says banzai in a kimono. So it's very very.
It was just Asia, wasn't it, at that point?
It was just Asia, you're Asian,
like,
not that like you're just Asian. It doesn't matter where from, but the
80s movie Short Circuit 2 has an Indian character that is just played by a white man with like makeup on. Like, it's not it's a bad era for that kind of thing.
It is a bad era. So
tell me more about 16 Candles.
But 16 Candles is the story of Samantha. She's 16-year-old and she's got a crush on the most popular boy, but she thinks that he doesn't like her back, and but the geekiest boy in school has got a massive crush on her. Her sister is getting married the day after her 16th birthday, so when she and 16 is very important in America. It's an extremely important day. And so when she wakes up, she's like 16 and she thinks things are finally going to change. But no, everybody has forgotten her birthday because her sister's getting married the next day. And like, because the sister's getting married the next day, the family comes to the house. She's got two really rude grandparents, well, four really incredibly annoying grandparents, and there's a scene in the hallway where they're talking about her breasts, and her granddad goes, "Oh, I need a magnifying glass." Terrible scene, but I'll always remember that. And and two of her grandparents, yes, two of her grandparents bring this foreign exchange student, and it's just the story of her kind of being in school and loving the boy, and the boy that she doesn't like loving her. And John Cusack is also in the film. I forgot. John and Joan Cusack are actually both in the film. And
Oh, really?
yeah. And there's a scene. I
love
can't
him.
remember why, but he needs girls. I think he the guy that likes her says that they hooked up, and he goes, "Oh, I just need some proof." His friends we need proof, and so she gives him her. It sounds really bad now that I'm talking about it, but I just love that film. I loved it. But yes, she gives him her knickers to say, "Oh, you can have these, so you can the proof that we hooked up, even if we haven't hooked up." And there's a
It's
scene
like
in the
Easy
bathroom.
A.
Yeah, and there's a scene in the bathroom where he like shows the panties, and there's all these like geeks like looking like, oh, a bit like the Minions. It's a pretty funny scene. But yeah, I love this film because it introduced me to John Hughes' world. I don't think John Hughes is a good person anymore. I'm not sure. He's dead now. Anyway.
What do you mean, not a good person?
I don't know. I think I don't know. You know everything. Has he done something bad?
No, I don't think so. Not John Hughes.
Okay, well
as far as
then,
I'm aware.
this will introduce me to John Hughes' world, and Molly Ringwald. I love 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, The Breakfast Club, not so much, but I just love it.
That's why I've never seen 16 Candles,
Oh well,
because
yeah,
I watched
it's
The
complete.
Breakfast Club and hated it.
Yeah, I don't know. You might enjoy 16 Candles. I don't know. I watched it as a kid and going, "Oh, that was so beautiful." And I still remember the song. The music is really 80s, and I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a cool film. I liked it. It introduced me to this genre, which I love. And being a kid in Italy, you looked at America with these like fluffy eyes, and these, people had that. Everybody wanted a locker. We didn't have a locker here, and so it kind of gave us a insight into American high school, which we don't have here, and it's pretty cool. And yeah, 16 Candles. Da, 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 da. And at the end, I'm not telling you what happens. Da, 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 da. Sorry. But yeah, my number 5. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is we've talked a bit about this movie before, but I couldn't not have it on my top 5 because I think it's a perfect film. It is 1988's action classic Die Hard.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Starring Bruce Willis as John Mcclane, a character who would later go on to be an absurd Superman, but in this movie is an everyman. Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber, Bonnie Bedelia as what's her character's name? I feel like a bad person now. Bonnie Bedelia plays. What's her name? Oh, for God's sake, George. Lucy McClane? Holly McClane, or Holly Gennaro, as he finds out she's changed her name to. You've also got Reginald Val Johnson in there as Al Powell, police officer. You got William Atherton as a TV reporter. Howard Bochner playing a great sleazy kind of 80s cokehead. It's got a great cast. Yeah, John Mcclane is a New York police detective whose wife has moved to LA, and he's visiting her for Christmas, and he's been told to go straight from the airport. He's picked up in a limo and taken to Nakatomi Plaza to meet his wife at their Christmas party. But little does he know that Hans Gruber and his band of European terrorist men have also decided that this is the night where they're going to go in and take over Nakatomi Plaza in order to, in order to do a variety of unpleasant things that are ultimately going to give them a load of money in bearer bonds. That's the setup. That's the film. I mean, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Die Hard, I don't know what to do with you, frankly. It's one of the most perfect movies of all time. You've seen it, haven't you, Alex?
Of course, I've seen Die Hard. Yeah.
It's a good film.
It is a good film and also has
How
got one of my favorite villains, so I'm very happy.
how well does it build tension? Does it do a good job of building tension?
Well, the guy at one point walks barefoot on glass. That's a lot of
Ooh,
tension.
yes, it
Yeah.
is. I
But
love
that's
as
the
well.
thing. Don't
Go
don't
on.
take the mick out of me because I
I
know
will.
my
I will take
films.
the mick out of you.
I know my films and a little bit of tension, and that does build tension. There's blood, there's glass, there is stuff, there is,
It does build tension. It's a good point because in the later Die Hard movies, he's riding around on a plane. He's jumping out of skyscrapers onto glass windows and all sorts of things. And there's no tension in those films because he just seems like a Superman that can't be injured. Whereas in Die Hard, he does get hurt, he gets injured and bruised and cut up, and he struggles, and it's tough, and you can see all the pain
Yeah.
on Bruce Willis's face because he's
Yeah.
so good in this movie, and it's just perfect. I also love that that can't be a real piece of advice that if you are scared of flying, what you should do is when you've finished the flight, go to your hotel and take your shoes and socks off and scrunch your feet up on the carpet. That just seems like an excuse to get him barefoot, which is fine because it's perfect for the movie. But it's
Didn't-
such a weird piece of advice at the start of that film that guy gives him.
Maybe.
Yeah, but it works for the movie because it's good. It's got so many great lines in it. I think my favorite line in the movie is where he throws the body out of the building and it lands on the police car's roof and it just freaks out that policeman and Bruce Willis just yells down, "Welcome to the party, pal!" And it's my favorite. I love that line so much. There's loads of other good lines as well, like when Hans Gruber's interrogating that guy and he's got, "I've got questions for you," sort of multiple choice questions. That's a great line. The whole film is full of amazing lines. The script is just perfect, and it's just it's a perfect action film, and it's set off the career of one of our all-time great action stars, which has faltered in recent years. But Bruce Willis has made his fair share of fantastic films. The first three Die Hard movies alone are great and worth everyone's time. After Die Hard 3, it sort of goes downhill, but those first three are wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
There's definitely some tension to be built.
There's definitely somewhat tension to be built.
Tension built.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't think there's a tenser scene in all of cinema than that bit at the start of Die Hard 3 where he's in that neighborhood of New York with the sandwich board on with the big racist slogan on it. That's pretty tense.
It is.
It is. Yeah, okay. So what's your number 4?
My number 4 is a film which I could not put in because I also love the remake that has been done recently. And there is a 1984 supernatural comedy directed by Ivan Reitman and written by Dan Aykroyd. Ghostbusters! Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. There's something strange. Yes, so Ghostbusters for me is definitely an 80s movie. Like it's the 80s movie. Like
it's inarguably an 80s movie.
But I mean like what it is about is just pure perfection. If you listener, fantastic listener, don't know what it is about. It's about these scientists that research. Well, are they scientists? Yeah, kind of. Are they scientists?
What's his name? Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray are.
scientists, yeah.
Oh, and Harold
And-
Ramis. Yeah, they
Yeah,
are.
yeah, and they delve into the paranormal, and they have an encounter with a ghost in New York Public Library, which I think the first one is a woman. Is it a woman? The first one?
The
It's not
librarian ghost. Yeah,
Slimer.
she's a woman.
Yeah, the librarian. Yeah. And then they start a business called the Ghostbusters, which go around and
Bust some
you know,
goddamn ghosts.
get some ghosts. But it's weird because people like there's against them. Why are you against them? They're getting ghosts. But
Well, he plays the awful reporter in Die Hard. That guy, like, he's such a classic 80s arsehole.
Yes, and he they switch off the machine where they keep all the ghosts, and all the ghosts get outed. Yes, and then there's this beautiful scene in the I think they have a trial, and then they find out that they're right, and then they save the world. But it's amazing. It's funny. It's fun to watch. It's got lots of ghosts. It's got a big Michelin man at the end that they try to kill. It's just
It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. But
yes, yeah. Who cares?
I care.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, it's all right. I think the trial is in Ghostbusters 2, isn't it? Where the
Oh yeah, the trials in Ghostbusters too.
there's a scene in a courtroom with some ghosts at the start of Ghostbusters 2, I think.
But is it not like in the Ghostbusters 1 as
There's
well?
the great bit in Ghostbusters 1 where they go to the mayor's office and Bill Murray's like...
it's the mayor's office where it's called Dickless. It called this guy Dickless here. Yeah,
it's true. This man has no dick.
Yeah, this man has no dick. No, it's not courtroom. That's a mayor's office. Sorry.
Yeah. Cats and dogs marrying each other. Da 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 da.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun film. Even Ghostbusters 2 is super fun. It's got a great cast. Bill Murray, Dana Croy, Sigourney Weaver, Harold Ramis, Hernie Hudson. It's just Hanny Potts, which I love. She's like the receptionist. I just think it's a fun
Don't
film.
forget about, what's his name? Did you mention from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? And
Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis. He's great.
Yeah, I love Rick Moranis. Yeah.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, and I just think Ghostbusters is a great film. It's a great film.
Although I'll tell you who doesn't like Rick Moranis is the guy that punched him in the back of the head a few months ago.
What? For real?
There was this horrible news story about like Rick Moranis, and there was CCTV footage of it. He was just walking down the street in like New York or something, and somebody just runs up and just punches him in the back of the head and runs away. It's horrible. The man's well, nobody should be punched in the back of the head, but like Harold Ramis in particular is now an elderly man and also a legend.
Yeah.
He's really good in Ghostbusters. The whole are you the keymaster? It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. And the bit where he's being chased by that demon dog outside that all those people are eating their dinner in that restaurant, he just comes up and like is banging on the glass wall and everyone's ignoring him. It just gets it's great. It's so good.
Yeah. That film used to terrify me when I used to be really scared of opening the fridge after watching that, because she opens the fridge and she sees these like horrible dogs, which are not real dogs, they're like alien dogs, and that's kind of like the fridge is calling her. Is kind of traumatic to open the fridge after that.
Well, the first time I ever tried to watch Ghostbusters, I was quite young and still scared of like horror films, and that scene and when all her eggs are exploding was the point where I was like, this is too much now, I'm going to have to turn this off. And it was a few years later before I went back to it and like actually
and Ghostbusters 2 is more terrifying with that painting.
Oh, Vigo the Carpathian.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and the like the like the stuff on the like going around under the city, the pink goo.
Yeah. Peter McNichol plays that weird little kind of dude who's his henchman. Yeah, he's very funny in it. Yeah, I mean, Ghostbusters 2 is not as good as 1, but they're both entertaining. And then I liked that reboot they did with the all-female cast. It was exceptionally unpopular.
Reboot.
It's got a very low rating on IMDb, in line with my theory.
Oh yeah, I love that one. I wish they made another one. I thought that was so good.
No, but they are making there's a new one coming that looks good, but it's not a sequel to that, if you see what I mean.
I don't understand why I didn't enjoy it. And like Chris Hemsworth in that one was pretty funny.
6.6 out of 10. Is that actually better than The Invitation? The Invitation has 6.6. It's got the same rating as The Invitation on IMDb.
Who?
What?
The
Ghostbusters reboot has got the same rating on IMDb as The Invitation does.
Wow.
So
okay.
that's Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Anything else to say?
No, it's a great film. Funny.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 3 then is again. It's a bit of an obvious pick, but I love this film. Most people love this film. It's a pretty big iconic movie. There's not too much to say about it, but let's get it out of the way. It is 1980s Star Wars Episode 5: The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you like this movie, right?
I love this movie.
Who doesn't love
course I
this
do.
movie?
Yeah.
I mean, the first Star Wars movie is one of the best films of the 70s. They came back in 1980 of the second part of the trilogy. It really goes dark in this one. I don't really know what to say about it. There's been so much said about The Empire Strikes Back over the years. It's probably my favorite Star Wars film. I do like the way that it kind of ends with the heroes having lost. Luke's had his arm cut off. Han Solo's in carbonite. Darth Vader's dropped. The mother of all plot twists. And it's just a great film. Yoda's in this movie. I mean, Yoda, one of the greatest creations of ever. It's just great. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Everybody loves The Empire Strikes Back. And if they don't like it, they can shove off. They can do one.
Good.
Who's your favourite character in Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back?
Probably. Is it like Han Solo's pretty cool in this one, isn't he?
Yeah, he is pretty
Like
cool in it.
he kind of becomes like the main, like the cool guy.
He is a
doesn't he?
cool guy.
Yeah, I think yeah. It's
There's a
when you
great
kind of
bit
like
where is in this film, I think they're on Hoth at the start and Princess Leia says to him, "I love you," and he just says, "I know," which is a pretty cool dude of a line. Well, I just, rather than having him be the like, "Oh, I love you too," like the hero
when
that
she
Luke
goes,
would be.
I know.
He's just sort of the arsehole that goes,
Yeah.
"I know you love me.
I know.
Of course you love
I
me.
know.
I'm Han Solo. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Harrison Ford. Come on." Yeah, he's my favorite, obviously. But yeah, and that opening sequence on Hoth, on the ice planet Hoth, Luke getting attacked by the not the Rancor, because that's the, I don't know, the Yeti beast thing, and being trapped in the cave, then being rescued by Han Solo and having to sleep inside the Tauntaun's innards, and then they get back to the base and they get attacked by the Empire, and you've got the big AT-ATs that are those big four-legged walkers, and they knock them down by spinning around them with the speeder cables, which immediately created about 10 different video game levels, which is wonderful. Yeah, it's great. It's so good. That's about all I've got to say about Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, except I'm not talking about the special edition released in 1997. That is terrible. Although, actually, the special edition of Empire Strikes Back is the least offensive of the special edition versions of those movies. But yeah, the original 1980 cut is the one that I love. So there we go.
Interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting. What's your
Was
number
that
3?
what was
go
it? The special edition? Did they put Is it when they put just Jabba the Hutt just like randomly?
Well, that's in the first. That's in the original Star Wars. There's a scene suddenly where he's talking to Jabba the Hutt, and
Yeah.
Harrison Ford walks in a circle, so they have to like awkwardly move him up in the frame so that it looks like he's walking over Jabba's tail, and Jabba does this big googly-eyed thing. Oh, it's awful. And then in Return of the Jedi, they have this whole CGI band in Jabba's palace that I hate. In The Empire Strikes Back, they kind of add in a few more scenes with the Yeti where it's a bit more on camera, which isn't really necessary. And then in Cloud City, they kind of redo some of the backdrops. But it's not. There's nothing as egregious as in the other two movies. I don't think so. It's okay. But yeah, The Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
Nice. Any more from you? What's your number 3?
Oh, I'm stalling because I'm in two minds, so I'm trying to figure. I've got two number 3s, but
Time to stop the stalling.
I'm
Time
stalling.
to make a choice.
Eh?
Time to make a choice.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I've chosen.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna go for this. Okay, my number 3. Okay, my number 3 is a 1988 comedy, directed by John Landis, and starring Eddie Murphy, and it's called and Arsenio Hall, which is very cool, called Coming to America.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
No?
Nope.
Okay. So, Prince Akeem, played by Eddie Murphy, is the prince of a wealthy African country, and he has everything done for him. So, like the first scene of you'll see that he's been washed and bathed, and very wealthy.
Yeah.
And he wants a wife, and his parents are trying to find him her wife, but he doesn't want somebody that will know he's a prince. There's this scene at the beginning that he's interviewing future brides and possible future brides, and he says to this girl, have you seen it?
No.
Oh.
Sorry,
so
I don't know why I said that then. Carry on.
Oh. And then at one point he's like, oh, now bark like a dog, and she starts barking, and then he's like, oh, jump, and so she does everything he wants her to do, and he's not satisfied by that, and
Right, I get it.
he runs away. Well, he goes to America with his best friend Semi, who's played by Arsenio Hall, to find a wife. And he disguises himself as a foreign exchange student, and he starts working in a fast food restaurant, and he starts liking the girl that works, the daughter of the boss, and but he doesn't reveal his true identity, and yeah, that's the film. He's trying to look for a bride, and he finds one in America, and that doesn't know that he's really rich. I feel like Eddie Murphy. It was a choice between a load of Eddie Murphy's films, because he was the king of the 80s. So between Beverly Hills Cop and the Golden Child and 48 Hours and Trading Places, like he's been in so much. But I loved this film. Like, maybe I think there must be loads of flaws, but when I watched it, I think I've seen it about 10 times, because it was one of those films in Italy that it was just on repeat, and like it was at least once a month on TV, and every time I watched it, and I loved it. I thought it was really cool. It was funny. It's just a good 80s film about a guy that's trying to find a wife, and it's fun, and the cast is amazing as well. James Earl Jones is in it, John Amos as well. Like, it's good cast, and I like it. They've just done a sequel, but I don't think I would enjoy it. I don't know. I don't think it's had good reviews.
It hasn't had very good reviews.
Yeah, because I think this is definitely something that should stay in the 80s, and it's an 80s film that it was good in the 80s, and I think it's still fun if you've seen it before. I don't know if you could watch it with like you've never watched it before and then say, oh yeah, it's good, but I don't know. But I really like it. I love John Landis.
It's considered a classic. People love it.
Yeah, I love Coming to America. Yeah. But it was between that and another one, and I was like, and so. But
what, another Eddie Murphy film?
No, another completely. But I've seen this more times. That's why I chose this one.
Fair dues.
So my number 3 was between this one and Private Benjamin.
I don't know what that is. So.
Oh, it's a 1980s film with
Has it got Goldie Hawn in it?
Goldie Hawn.
All right, okay. I think I
It's
know the cover, but I've never seen it.
it's so much fun. That's a really fun film. But I
Cool.
was like, but yeah, I've went for with the one I've seen the most. So
Fair dues.
yeah. Yeah.
Fair
Coming to America,
dues.
number 3. What's your number 2, man?
So my number 2 is a 1982 movie, a classic science fiction horror film directed by John Carpenter, and it is,
Oh,
one of my faves, The Thing.
The Thing.
The Thing. Have you seen The Thing?
No.
No. The Thing stars Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley, T.K. Carter, David Clennon, Keith David, and a few other people, as scientists and various people who work at a research station, an American research station in Antarctica. The movie opens with a helicopter chasing a dog that's running towards the research station, and the people at the research station are kind of watching this bizarre scene unfold and not really understanding it. The helicopter accidentally blows itself up, and then the dog arrives at the research station and they take it in, and the dog may have a passenger that is not of this earth, that then begins to wreak havoc amongst the crew of this research station. It's a great film. The great thing about The Thing is that you never know who is the thing and who isn't the thing and who's a real person, because it can change its shape and look like anybody. So, not to keep bringing it back to this, but in terms of like building tension, I feel like The Thing does it better than most other movies. But it also stars one of the all-time great cinema heroes, Kurt Russell, who worked with John Carpenter a few times, but I think this is by far their best collaboration. It's got a great atmosphere to it. It's set in the cold Arctic wasteland or Antarctic wasteland. It has this great sense of like, we're trapped here. There's nothing we can do. We can't escape. Where could we? Like you were talking about the invitation in terms of like, why don't they just leave? I mean, they are in the middle of the Antarctic. They can't leave. There's nowhere that they can go. It's got this great kind of locked room element to it. And it has one of the all-time great endings as well to a movie that I won't spoil here. But yeah, I love The Thing. I won't ask you why you've never watched it, because I could guess. But it's brilliant.
No, I'm
also
ready to watch tense stuff. I'm ready. If nothing is tensing me out, like if nothing is building tension, I'm ready. I'm ready for Hereditary, The Thing, everything. Send them my way.
Okay.
No, don't.
It is. What was I going to say? Oh, it features like, and again, similar to you were talking earlier about Justice League and the CGI costumes and stuff. This movie has the best practical effects I think I've ever seen in a film. What they achieve with just puppetry, essentially, is insane and so good. And there was a remake of this film, not actually a remake, more of a prequel, which is one of the more interesting things about it. But they made a The Thing semi-remake, semi-prequel thing that came out in like 2011, I think, and stars Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's an actress I really like. But the big issue with that movie is The Thing is always done in CGI, and it just looks like a big mess of pixels on the screen, and it doesn't work. Whereas the original The Thing, directed by John Carpenter, it's all practical, it's all in camera, it's all real, and it's great. It's all the better for it. Additionally, the final thing I want to say about it is it was a massive flop when it came out. The reviews were terrible. It made no money, and I think John Carpenter's always really been quite hurt about what a failure it was, but it is now regarded as one of the all-time great films, correctly, because it is a masterpiece. There you go, The Thing. That's my number 2.
That's amazing that some great films are flops and some really, really bad films get all their praise. Like, it's just
Yeah.
crazy for me.
It's bizarre. I talked
Like,
about one
I
last.
just
I talked
can't-
about The Empty Man last week, right? Like that for me is a really good film that probably will be forgotten until for another few years, and then maybe be found by people. But yeah, cult classics happen. They happen all the time.
Never mind.
Yeah. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is a British comedy directed by Charles Crichton and written by John Cleese.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Why? Why did you do that face when I said Charles Crichton?
Because I've never heard of him. And I just was a bit...
Oh,
Is it Crichton? Like Crichton,
Crichton, not Crichton. Crichton. Sorry, I can't.
No,
say
I haven't
it.
heard of Charles
Crichton.
Crichton either. That's why I did the face, because in my head I was thinking, because Michael Crichton wrote the Jurassic Park and other book. Anyway, sorry, I've completely derailed you. Is it clockwise? It's not clockwise, is it?
Eh?
Oh, it's A Fish Called Wanda.
Yeah, it is a fish called Wonder.
Sorry. Continue. I
It's the
apologise.
1988 comedy A Fish Called Wonder.
Awesome.
I love this film.
I forgot about this film. And it was on none of the... It was not on any of the lists of 80s movies I was looking up to help.
I love this film. It's so good. It's got an incredible cast.
Yes, it does.
It has John Cleese, Jamie
Yes,
Lee
please.
Curtis,
Yes,
Kevin
please.
Kline,
Yes,
Michael
please.
Palin.
Yes, please.
And then I don't know anybody else.
But all of those people you just named,
They're amazing. They're incredible.
it's probably the best they have ever been in their career is in this film. All 4 of them put in the best performances ever. Like Michael Palin in that movie.
It's so funny.
Can make you cry laughing.
It's so funny. Like everything. It's just basically a heist movie where four people, completely different people, try to like steal some jewels, and they all try to like trip each other up. Basically, one tries to like fool somebody else. That's basically the film, but. That's the basis of the film, but it had the characters that are amazing in this film. You know, there's Michael Palin, who is the friend of does he work for because there's one guy, the main guy, which I can't remember his name, George Thomason.
Is he right? Okay,
he's like the main gangster.
Right, that Jamie Lee Curtis is sort of...
Yeah, so Jamie Lee Curtis is this gangster's girlfriend, and Michael Palin kind of works for him.
Yeah,
and Michael Palin loves fish. He's got a beautiful fish tank, and one of the most beautiful fish is called Wanda, and Jamie Lee Curtis is Wanda. And every man in this film loves Wanda because everybody, falls for Wanda.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Because it's Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's so beautiful and attractive and gorgeous in this film, and she's just like amazing, isn't she? Yeah. And she's like basically like I'm a mastermind, and she fools all these men, and it's just funny, and it's a great film. It's a very, very good film, and I love it, and yeah. You've seen The Fish Called Wanda?
Oh, I've seen it a few times. I agree. Yeah. It's a wonderful movie.
And this the one thing, like what turns Wanda on is talking Italian. So if a man talks Italian, she like loses her mind. So like Kevin Kline is kind of her lover. Kevin Kline pretends to be her brother, but in reality is her lover. And there's this beautiful like funny sex scene where he just speaks Italian.
Oh yeah! Isn't there a scene where John Cleese is speaking Russian to her as well? John
Cleese was like, I can speak Italian, but I can speak Russian to you.
Yeah, and then Kevin Kline's like watching from outside and just getting more and more angry about it. Yeah, it's so good.
And then he gets naked, and then there's a family in the house.
Oh, that's great as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a proper farce movie, isn't it? Like people hiding behind things because they've not got their clothes on, and people coming in at the wrong moment, and all this kind of thing. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, and Michael Palin has got a stutter, and so that's kind of like part of his character. And they're trying to kill some dogs to kill a woman. It's
Oh
just,
God, he's trying to kill that woman and he keeps killing her dogs by mistake.
but he loves animals.
Yeah.
Michael Palin's character loves animals, but he keeps killing the animals instead of the woman. It's definitely, if you haven't seen A Fish Called Wanda, it's definitely like comedy gold, and
Yeah.
I love it. It's
Have
such a good film.
you seen it's not a sequel, but it's like a follow-up? Because it's another, like, John Cleese, I think, wrote it and stars in it, and it's got Kevin Kline in it, it's got Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Palin. It's called Fierce Creatures,
No.
and it's set in a zoo. Look, it's not as good as A Fish Called Wanda, but
Okay.
I have a real soft spot for it, and if you haven't watched it, you should seek it out and give it a go. Because it's just sort of it's much more comfortable than A Fish Called Wanda. It's a really comforting movie for me. This kind of second
Okay.
one, where they're just sort of all being funny, and there's nothing quite as original or amazing as in A Fish Called Wanda in it, but it's just quite a fun, like if you've got a headache or a hangover or you've got a cold and you need to spend a day
Yeah.
on the couch, Fierce Creatures is a really good choice.
Awesome.
And Kevin
Okay.
Kline plays two characters in it and is really, really funny as this sort of Rupert Murdoch-esque business tycoon. And then he plays his own son as well. And he's just really, really good. And there's this whole plot line where he's like, it's basically, what is happening in it? It's like there's a zoo. Kevin Kline's media tycoon buys the zoo and he hires John Cleese to go and be the new manager looking after the zoo. And John Cleese is kind of a very buttoned up accountant. But then Kevin Kline's son, who's also played by Kevin Kline, comes to try and turn it into a bit of a like theme park zoo and get sponsors. Like there's a scene where he's got like the Gillette logo on the side of a tortoise and things like this. And it's just, and Michael Palin plays like the insect guy at the zoo. It's really good. I can't remember what Jamie Lee Curtis. I can't remember how she is involved in it exactly. But anyway, it's a fun movie. You should check it out. Yeah, but it's not as good as A Fish Called Wanda, obviously.
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
nice.
I wanna watch it.
Good. You should watch it and report
What's
back.
your number one?
My number one is a film that, again, if you haven't seen this movie, just turn this off right now and go and watch it. You ridiculous idiot. Everyone's seen it. It's like you've seen it, and you don't even like this kind of film. It's a perfect film. It doesn't get better than this film. It's a perfect film. It's so good. It is the 1980 horror classic directed by Stanley Kubrick and starring Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, The Shining. There's nothing else to say. It's
No,
brilliant.
that's it.
It's absolutely,
Yeah.
it's brilliant, and it's actually weirdly similar to The Thing, because again, that's the tension that comes in from the film, is that they can't, once they're in this hotel for the winter, can't go anywhere. They're trapped in this hotel with the husband who is the problem, the villain of the film. It's great. I don't know what to say. Jack Torrance is hired to be the caretaker of the hotel, the Overlook Hotel, during the winter. He goes there with his wife, Wendy, and his son, Danny, to live, just the three of them, in this hotel for the winter season while he manages it. And he's also a struggling writer, and he wants to write a book while he's there. And the hotel is haunted, and evil forces within the hotel conspire to drive Jack Nicholson's character, Jack Torrance, insane, and make him attack his family. And
Is it not that
perfect.
tension making? That film creates tension by doing very simple things, and you need that tension to then arrive to the end.
Definitely. All I would,
And it's
the
a
only
slow
thing I'd
burner
say,
as
and like
well.
you're not wrong, but I love horror films, and not every horror film is made with the same care and attention that The Shining is made. So I probably just have a lower bar in terms of like, not every film can build tension as well as The Shining. Do you know what I mean?
Oh no, but I'm not. Of course, I wouldn't ever say, oh, The Shining and The Invitation have to build the same kind of tension.
No, I don't even
But
mean The
this is the kind of
Invitation. Like,
tension
there's
I'm
just
saying, that The Invitation could have like built a little bit on something that constantly happen. Because I felt like by the end, I was like, well, how does he know that stuff is in the glass? Because at the end of the day, nothing was built for me. But instead of like, if you can like, it doesn't have to be this shining tension. That's a masterpiece. I didn't put The Shining because I thought, I went more for the 80s movies, and for me The Shining is like the movie. So I'm glad you put it because it's a great
Yeah, that's fair.
film.
I just couldn't
It's
not
an
have it on my
amazing
list.
film.
It's
No, it's a masterpiece. It's beautiful. And that's the thing. I think maybe I like horrors, but I like horrors that can like tickle something in me and go, don't. Yeah, not just go, oh, okay, he locked the door, great. Break a
sure.
window.
Um,
Yeah. But yeah, good first choice.
Thanks.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. That's
What's
also
your-
a great final
oh.
shot. That's also a great final shot when the
Oh.
camera pans out to the photo and
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson is in the middle. That's a great final shot.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't put it in my top 5 final shots because it's like I would never put like if we did top films of the 2010s, The Invitation wouldn't be on my top 5 because it's not even close
Yeah.
to one of my 5. Like, but The Shining for me, I was like, I'm not going to put it in my top 5 final shots because, like you just said, it's too much. It's too like as good as that final shot is, the entire film is perfect.
Yeah.
So top 5 80s movies is where I've decided to list The Shining.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Thanks. What's your number one?
My number one is a film from 1987. It's a science fiction comedy, and that stars Dennis Quaid and his then wife Meg Ryan and Martin Short. Another person properly in the 80s, Martin Short. 80s, 90s, wasn't he?
Yeah, I like Martin Short. I've got a soft spot
I
for
love
Martin Short.
Martin Short.
Yeah.
Do you know the film?
Is it Inner Space?
Yeah, Inner
Okay.
Space.
I've never seen it.
How do you know the film then?
Because I'm an idiot, because I'm a weirdo who reads lists of films on the internet.
I'm an idiot, I'm a weirdo, I am George, I'm a hero, I'm a sinner, I'm a hero. You're a hero, George, you're not an idiot, you're my hero.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
You're
Do they
welcome.
get shrunk down and go into somebody's body in this movie?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, Tuck Peddington, which is played by Dennis Quaid, is a pilot and is taking part of a miniaturization experiment. And after made small, I can't say the word, made small and put in the syringe, some bad guys come into the lab and steal the syringe, and the vessel is now in the syringe, and I can't remember exactly what happens, but I think the guy gets shot, one of the guy that has it, and accidentally jams the syringe into Martin Short, and so Dennis Quaid was supposed to be in a rabbit, but now is into Martin Short. Martin Short is a hypochondriac and he thinks he's always sick, and he feels really weird because he's got something in him. And basically it's the story of them trying to get Dennis Quaid out before the oxygen levels go down. And it sounds really silly, but I love this film.
It really does.
It's just a film that you couldn't do now at all because it's just so silly. But I loved it. I loved Martin Short, and I loved the relationship that he had with Dennis Quaid in his body, and Dennis Quaid would make him do some stuff. And I don't know, it's just a fun action science fiction comedy, and I think it just, I don't know, I've seen it so many times. I just love it. It's just good. It's just a good 1980s comedy that I really like because I don't think it could be repeated after the 80s. It could not be repeated. Maybe the 90s. You look shocked and disgusted.
No, I mean you could have similar to when we did our top 5 90s films, I just could never have predicted what your number one would have been. It's just so far out of left field for me that I'm just in shock. But not doubting it as a good choice, because I haven't seen it and I know that people, it's a popular film. I never even knew that when I was young, I didn't even know it existed. I'd never heard of it until like reasonably recently, I suppose.
Well, I feel because the 80s in everywhere else were the 90s here. So I watched these films when I was about 10,
Yeah,
probably. In the
yeah.
early 90s, I watched these films because they had to dub them. And all these films, I watched them in Italian, apart from A Fish Called Wanda. So also sometimes it's kind of like, oh, what's the name? And yeah.
It'd be interesting one day to do top 5 Italian films because those would be two very different lists. Because yours would be a list of actual Italian movies, and mine would be a list of giallo horror films.
But I've never actually watched that many Italian films. I'm bad.
Interesting.
Mm.
There's very good.
Well, maybe I could. Maybe
I love
could do a
giallo
list.
movies. Giallo movies are wonderful things. I'm a big
Ah.
fan.
But yeah. So yeah, my number one is Inner Space.
Inner Space. Right. I'll run through my top 5 one more time.
Yeah.
At 5, I had Beetlejuice. At 4, Die Hard. At 3, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Number 2, The Thing. And number 1, The Shining.
My top 5. Number 5, 16 Candles. Number 4, Ghostbusters. Number 3, Coming to America. Number 2, A Fish Called Wanda. And number 1, Inner Space.
Perfect. Now, I have a stupidly long list of honourable mentions because this really was a strong decade for films.
Yeah.
I'll just run through them quickly. We've got Blade Runner, which was
Yeah.
would have been in my top 5 if I hadn't already highlighted it in the villains episode recently. Because I do love that movie. The Running Man, probably my favourite Schwarzenegger movie, weirdly. The Vanishing, a great Dutch thriller. Possession, an incredible, bizarre, like Polish horror film thing. Sleepaway Camp, great weird slasher movie. The Terminator, again, would be in my top 5, but I did Terminator 2 for the 90s movies, and I think that's my favourite Terminator, so that takes it. Ghostbusters, which you had. Back to the Future, which is a perfect film. The Fly, which is a perfect film. Aliens, which is a perfect film. Big Trouble in Little China, which is a perfect film. Do the Right Thing, which is incredible and probably isn't in my top 5 only because I only saw it recently for the first time. So I'm still kind of sitting with it. It's great. A Nightmare on Elm Street, Evil Dead 2, Flash Gordon, The Fog, Indiana Jones, The Entity, Spinal Tap, Commando, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I've done The Fly, haven't I? Yeah. Stand By Me, Blue Velvet, Raising Arizona, They Live, Akira, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, The Woman in Black, Batman, Beverly Hills Cop, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Poltergeist, The Princess Bride, and Gremlins. All of those movies are the best.
Of the ones that you haven't said, because I've got Back to the Future, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Big, Big.
Yeah, I don't. I'm an outlier with Big. I don't like it very much.
Okay, The Karate Kid.
I hate
Dirty
that
Dancing.
film.
What?
I really don't like The Karate Kid.
Oh my goodness, you're terrible. You're terrible human. I don't even know why we're friends. Like,
No,
it's
never do I.
ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Dirty Dancing, Amadeus, which is the film about Mozart. Love that film. Private Benjamin, Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, and I think you said most. 3 Men and a Baby, 48 Hours, and I think you said all the rest, which I think
Beverly
Back to
Hills
the
Cop is a
Future.
great movie, isn't it?
Oh, da 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 da.
I watched it about 3 weeks ago just because I felt like watching it, and it's just a great film.
Oh, forgot Lethal Weapon. Lethal Weapon.
Little Weapon. I love Little Weapon.
Lethal.
Amy is my favourite Little Weapon.
Goodness. So, homework time.
Homework time.
What would you like to watch me to watch? I know The Thing. You want me to watch The Thing?
Are you willing to take The Thing on is that
is
okay?
Is it scary? Is it more? Yeah, I'll watch The Thing.
Okay, I'm excited. I'll watch The Thing as well so
not-
that we can properly talk about it.
If not, what else would you like me to watch?
Well, I'd really like you to watch The Thing. I think that'd be awesome if you watch The Thing. But make sure it's the 80s, the John Carpenter one. If you start it, because it's got some, it's not violent in the way that like Friday the 13th was with knives going into flesh and stuff, but it's got some real like sort of gooey stuff in it, alien gooey
Oh, I
things.
don't like gooey.
But I think hopefully you'll be okay with it. It's a great movie, The Thing. You should check it out. If you start it and really really hate it or something, then Beetlejuice would be a backup. But I'd love to talk to you about The Thing. It'd be interesting. What's my homework?
So you haven't watched 16 Candles,
No.
Coming to America, or Inner
No.
Space?
No.
I think it should be a toss-up between Inner Space and Coming to America. I think you can decide that.
Okay.
I think Inner Space is so ridiculous that I think you might enjoy it.
Okay. I mean, I want to watch both of them. I think I'm more likely to watch Coming to America on my own at some point. So I'll.
Okay.
Unless it turns out to be totally unavailable, I'll watch Inner Space. But I know that Coming to
Okay.
America is on Prime Video, so if I can't find Inner Space, I'll watch that.
Okay.
But I will try and watch Inner Space.
Okay. Yeah. Fun times.
Yeah.
So this week we don't have any recommendations unless you George, you want to recommend Zack Snyder's The League of Gentlemen.
No. Definitely not. But
Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I have spent all week playing Dead by Daylight, which I talked about. This is just very briefly at the end as a little thing to finish on. Dead by Daylight, you remember I was talking to you about it last week, where you play as like a killer, and they released a new content pack this week where every 3 months they put out a new killer and a new survivor that you can play as. Yeah? And they released a new one this week that was K-pop themed.
No.
Yeah,
Are you
so
Lisa?
What?
Are you Lisa?
Lisa. Oh god. Well, so the killer is he looks like a member of Big Bang, I guess. It's like a guy. He's called the Trickster, and he's got this. He looks like no other character they've ever put out. And he talks, which the killers don't normally do. And he's got this mad kind of purple hair, this big yellow coat. He throws knives at people. His backstory is that he's a K-pop star turned serial killer who has started mixing his victims' screams into his music, which is pretty like good horror genre vibe stuff. And then the survivor is the only, like, he's killed all of his K-pop band and mates and stuff, but his producer has survived, so it's she's the survivor, is his producer. Awesome. And she's like a Korean lady. It all looks really cool, and the unfortunate thing is that the actual killer is really not fun to play as, if that makes sense. Like, he looks good, but his powers aren't that fun, which is unfortunate. But that's my recommendation for this week: Dead by Daylight. And the K-pop chapter is pretty cool.
Cool.
Yeah. Nice. Next time, join us for top 5 80s bands.
Yes, please.
There'll be synths. There'll be moody kind of new wave, new romantic stuff. Probably it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. Alex won't be able to pull her I'm just going to do bands that I listened to in the 80s thing again because she was too young. So she'll have to do a list of actual 80s bands.
What? You're so rude, George.
I know, I'm very rude.
You're so rude.
But it's interesting because you can't do that this time, can you?
No.
No.
Maybe it'll be easy. Maybe I won't listen to any 80s bands.
I have. I think you'll be surprised. I don't know. We'll see. It will be interesting because, I'm not sure exactly how I'll put it together, but I know one. I know what my number 1 is, and I have to find the other 4.
What's your number 1?
Well, I'm not going to tell you now, am I? But they're great. They're really great.
I'm glad.
Cool. Well, thank you for everyone for joining us. Please look us up on social media. We're having some good download numbers recently, which is really nice. And so if you've started listening recently off the back of whatever, I'd really appreciate if you could give us a rating or a review on Apple Music. Please tell your friends to listen to us. We'd really like to get more people listening. And follow us on social media. All the links to that are in the show notes for this and every other episode. So and do check the show notes out because I always put in links to all the things we talk about in Culture Catch Up, and whenever we do the YouTube episodes, I put links to the YouTube videos we talk about and things like that. So do check out the show notes because I put in a little bit of time into writing them. So it would, yeah, check them out. All right, join us next week for top 5 80s films. Thanks for joining us for Culture Bucket. It's been a pleasure. I'll speak to you again, as will Alex. Bye.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.